Chapter 1582. Why don't you tell me? Ning Shu's face was calm, but her heart was exploding. To be honest, she was very curious about the life of mission enforcers. When Xing didn't know what Ning Shu was thinking, so he didn't talk about his own personal matters. Ning Shu didn't ask, so she just said, "Before I became a mission enforcer, I was in the hospital and died on the bed." When Xing raised his eyebrows, "You don't look like someone who has been sick for a long time. That's all in the past. I've started all over again. Naturally, it's different from lying on the bed. Ning Shu, I've already told you about me. Why don't you tell me about your gossip?" When Xing sat up. "I'm from a big family. In ancient times, books were sold to the royal family. Ning Shu, I'd like to hear, after crossing the sea, no water is water. Apart from Mount Wu, no clouds are clouds." This might be the first time she came into contact with the love between mission enforcers. Ning Shu had always been a loner, but cooperation between mission enforcers was necessary. Ning Shu didn't even understand the mentality of other mission enforcers. When Xing talked about his family situation, how he died, how he became a mission enforcer, blah blah blah, Ning Shu propped up her chin with a cold face. She didn't want to listen. Mission enforcers exist for a long time, as long as they aren't killed. When Xing put his hand behind his head and looked at the sky. "At that time, I became a mission enforcer. I wandered from world to world and saw a lot of things that I didn't see when I was alive. Gradually, I got tired of running from world to world. Life is eternal. I felt bored and meaningless. My heart was lonely and meaningless. Sometimes, I even thought about reincarnating. But life is hard. I don't want to reincarnate and I'm afraid of it. Besides, no mission enforcer can reincarnate. Once you've stepped on this path, there's no turning back." Ning Shu listened to Wen Xing quietly. Everyone has a period of confusion. Ning Shu was also confused. To avoid confusion, Ning Shu would find a goal for herself. Wen Xing Ning Shu asked, "Do you know what people do when they're lonely?" Ning Shu's eyes darted around. "Find someone you love, satisfy your inner feelings, and comfort each other." "That's right, that's what I did back then." When Xing sighed. "There are many mission takers. They come from different worlds and live in different eras. Everyone has the mark of a different era. I met a woman, bright and passionate, and we fell in love." Ning Shu asked, "Actually, I've always been curious. How do mission enforcers communicate with each other?" When Xing was speechless. "That wasn't the main point. We love each other. We love each other very much. I even feel like I've found my life goal, which is to be with my lover forever. Every time I do a mission, I want to be with her, to be in the same world as her, to breathe the same air." Ning Shu was speechless. Ning Shu propped up his chin. He felt that this love story was definitely not going to end well. Wasn't it just being unable to extricate oneself from a small love affair? "And then?" Ning Shu asked. "Then?" When Xing paused for a moment. Perhaps the life of a mission enforcer is too long enough to understand a person, and the love between us gradually faded away. The strong love between us was worn away by time, and we became tired and dull. Ning Shu said, "It's not bad to be with each other like this. How can it always be so vigorous? Love was built on the basis of reproduction, hormones, and loneliness. Can you endure an endless life, facing someone you don't love anymore? A girl told me that she didn't love me anymore. She used to love me, but she doesn't love me anymore." Ning Shu asked, "What about you?" "I don't love her anymore. After we separated, we both felt relieved, and then we wished each other well." Ning Shu, fuck off. After we broke up, I couldn't find a goal again. I was still lonely. When Xing drank a mouthful of water. It just so happened that the mission enforcers were cleaning up. I was almost cleaned up. At that time, my mind was clear. Only then did I realize that I was almost dead. I was completely wiped out. Because I followed that girl every world, I didn't even complete my mission properly. I couldn't even do my job properly." Ning Shu was speechless. How bored was she to listen to Wen Xing tell this kind of story? It wasn't interesting at all. Love needed a sense of mystery. Everyone was familiar with it, so there was no novelty. Will the cleaning be done every once in a while? Ning Shu asked. We will clean up the mission enforcers regularly. Wen Xing sat up, stretched, and carried the medical box. Let's go. It's time to look. Wen Xing flicked a copper coin with his thumb. The coin spun in the air, and Wen Xing caught it firmly. Ning Shu held his gun and followed behind Wen Xing. The current Wen Xing was a qualified mission enforcer. Since loving one person would make you tired, then love the world, love everyone. Love knows no bounds. As expected of a scholar, his mind was sensitive and sentimental. The copper coin found an alien. This alien was the biggest one Ning Shu had ever seen. It was as big as a small car. It swam on the road. Ning Shu and Wen Xing aimed at the alien at the same time. The alien swam over with Ning Shu and Wen Xing. Its tail was as big as a tree. When it swam, the trash cans by the roadside were overturned. Let's shoot together. Wen Xing was worried that if they couldn't completely destroy the alien, they would release the small alien in its body. Just as Ning Shu was about to open fire, the xenomorph suddenly let out a ferocious screech before disappearing into thin air. She hadn't shot yet. Ning Shu looked up and saw more than 10 people suddenly appear in the air. Each of them had a gun in their hands. A few of them were carrying large guns and were fully armed. The 10 people floated down. Ning Shu looked at the person in front of her. Why are you here? Fragrant Wind carried his gun on his shoulder. When he saw Ning Shu, he raised his eyebrows. It's you again. Why do you always choose this kind of world? Ning Shu was speechless. Who knew what was going on? Fragrant Wind waved his hand. The 10 people behind him dispersed and disappeared. They went to various parts of the city to destroy the aliens. Ning Shu looked at these people who disappeared. These people were also souls. They should be mission enforcers. But they didn't look like mission enforcers. They were so disciplined and obedient. They didn't look like lazy mission enforcers. They looked more like an army. Ning Shu realized that the worlds she had come into contact with were just the tip of the iceberg. There were countless planes that she hadn't seen before. There were even more things that she didn't understand about the mission enforcers organization. Layer by layer, she unraveled the cocoon. Why didn't you report the abnormality in this world earlier? Fragrant Wind asked Ning Shu. I don't have the authority to report it, Ning Shu said directly. Wen Xing said, this is my negligence. The storyline I received was about an alien creature. I didn't expect such an unforeseen event to occur. Chapter 1583. Fragrant Wind gave Ning Shu and Wen Xing a pair of glasses each. Actually, the half-rimmed glasses were used for positioning. Ning Shu put on the glasses and the map of the entire city appeared in front of her. There were even red dots. It was too awesome. It would be much easier to find the xenomorph this way. Ning Shu had never seen such a thing before, not even in the exchange store. With support, Ning Shu breathed a sigh of relief. After all, there was a limit to one's strength. It was better to rely on the support of the organization. Fragrant Wind was wearing a military uniform, but his hair was still smeared with a lot of hair gel. The hair gel was very fragrant. He was really obsessed with hair gel. It was easy to go bald if you put too much on. In that world, Fragrant Wind was wearing a flowery shirt. Today, he was wearing a military uniform. To be honest, Ning Shu did not feel the perseverance and loyalty of a soldier from Fragrant Wind. He was still very showy. Ning Shu's heart was itching. She had a lot of questions in her heart that she wanted to ask. However, Ning Shu held back. There were some things that she did not need to know at her level. It was useless to know. However, staying in a strong organization was also very safe. Okay, let's split up and take care of the target. Fragrant Wind did not say much. Wen Xing looked at Ning Shu. You can do it alone, right? Ning Shu nodded. Of course. Wen Xing turned and walked in a direction. Fragrant Wind looked at Ning Shu. If you are not strong enough to deal with this situation, don't choose a world with such major changes. It can't solve any problems. Instead, it will affect the world. Ning Shu was embarrassed for a moment, but she nodded and said, I understand. This situation was not something she could solve. If it was not for Wenxing, she would not be able to report the situation in this world. Ning Shu frowned. The mission was chosen for her by 2333, because she could not meet the person in advance. Moreover, the development of the situation was unexpected. Did 2333 choose the world for her? Did he do it on purpose, or was he careless, or did he not expect this situation? Ning Shu suppressed the thoughts in her mind. Since she was still on the same side as 2333, there was no point in pursuing the matter. The only thing he could do was to strengthen himself and his willpower. Go deal with the xenomorphs, Fragrant Wind Man said and disappeared in a flash. Ning Shu went to the nearest red dot and destroyed it. With the GPS glasses, it was much more convenient. He could just find one person and kill one person. The number of red dots in the city was slowly decreasing. Ning Shu got a motorcycle and stepped on the accelerator towards the location of the red. There was no need to stop the car. Once he opened fire, he would take out one and then rush to the next red dot. Ning Shu would stop the car to treat the wounds and stop the bleeding whenever he saw someone in need of treatment. Under the bombardment of the advanced weapons, the number of red dots in the city decreased. When the last red dot disappeared, Fragrant Wind's voice came through the glasses. He ordered, "Gather at Route 3 immediately." Ning Shu closed the first aid kit and drove the motorcycle to number 3 road. The others had already gathered, so Ning Shu hurried over. "Check if you've left anything on this plane." More than a dozen people immediately checked their equipment and reported that they didn't leave anything behind. They couldn't leave anything that didn't belong to this world, especially high-tech things. You two stay in this world for a while. Remember to report if anything happens, Fragrant Wind Man Ning Shu and Wenxing said. Ning Shu and Wenxing said in unison, "We got it." Use the glasses and weapons first. Remember to return them to the system when the mission is completed, Fragrant Wind Man said and disappeared with the dozen people. As soon as they left, Wenxing sat on the side of the road and fanned himself with his hand. He let out a long sigh. It's finally done. Ning Shu also sat down and took out a water bottle to drink. The matter was resolved. Ning Shu was so tired that he couldn't even lift his hand. To be honest, Ning Shu was a little depressed. He felt more and more insignificant. He should have done it step by step. Why did he have to let her see so many things and disturb her mood? Screw you. In the future, she would also be a very awesome and powerful person. Ning Shu drank water and rolled his eyes. Then I'll go back and rest first. I'm too tired. Wenxing stood up and said to Ning Shu. Ning Shu nodded. Bye then. If there's anything, let's contact each other. Ning Shu got on his motorcycle and went back to his rented house. When he got home, Ning Shu locked the door. He took a shower and slept until the sky turned dark. When he woke up, he felt that his body didn't belong to him anymore. His whole body was sore. When killing the aliens, there was a lot of activity. He climbed up and down, went into the sewers, and climbed up the stairs. Ning Shu got up from the bed. When he stood up, his legs were shaking. Ning Shu lay back on the bed and started to cultivate. The soreness in his muscles would definitely hurt for a long time. Ning Shu put on his glasses and checked if there were any aliens in the city. If there were any left behind, they had to be eliminated immediately. After checking for a while, there were no red dots. Ning Shu laid on the bed for a long time. Then he got up and made some food. He took his time. Previously he was very tense. Now it was time to relax. Ning Shu took out a bone from the fridge and sniffed it. It didn't seem to be spoiled. He put it in the pot to boil the soup. After boiling the soup, he put the noodles in. When he took out the pot, he put in 2 vegetables. A bowl of vegetable noodles. The taste was very good. Ning Shu ate slowly. He picked up the remote control of the TV on the table and prepared to watch the news. There was no signal on the TV. Ning Shu made a call to the client's parents. The client's parents asked Ning Shu to send some money back. They said that the family didn't need it. Ning Shu agreed to send the money back. It wasn't easy to raise the client into a university student in a rural village. Ning Shu ate the noodles. It was really delicious. After going through so much trouble, eating a mouthful of noodles made him feel happy. Ning Shu's heart was unprecedentedly calm now. The armed forces of the city searched over and over again. They didn't find any aliens. They felt that the aliens had been wiped out. Hence, they released the news that the city was safe. All industries could operate normally. Some people were skeptical. The next day, Ning Shu received a call from the company telling him to go to work. Although the city was safe, it was still a little bleak. Compared to the previous city, there were very few people in the city now. Other than those who were killed, there were many who escaped from the city. It would take time for the city to return to its previous prosperity. The next day, Ning Shu went to the company. There were very few people in the company. There were also people who died in the company. Out of concern, the company gave the employees some bonuses. It could be considered as getting rid of their bad luck. As for the people who died, it wasn't the company's responsibility. This was an irresistible factor. Chapter 1584. Ning Shu took the envelope excitedly. The bonus was as much as a month's salary. If she sent the money home, she wouldn't need to touch her savings. She wanted to buy a house, a house, a house. Ning Shu went to the company to report and sort out the company's information. The company hadn't officially started operations yet. Although the news said that there were no more monsters, people were still afraid. After work, Ning Shu went to the sales office to look at the properties. The sales office was closed. It seemed that it would take some time for the city to recover its previous vitality. The mayor said on the news every day that the city was fine. It was true. There were people returning to the city, but they were a minority. Most people were still hesitating. There were monsters in the city. How could they return? Fragrant Wind Guy wanted her and Wenxing to stay in this world for a while. He was afraid that there would be fish that escaped the net. It was okay to stay for a while. Ning Shu felt that she could look for the world's origin. The Mission Enforcer organization was deeper than she thought. She had to be strong to not drown. In the future, she would definitely not choose such a world with such disasters. In the last world that collapsed, she met Fragrant Wind Guy. This time, she met him again. No wonder she always chose such a world. Ning Shu was also in despair. When would her soul orb finish fusing? It was important to meet the client first. Every time she entered the world, she was caught off guard. There wasn't much to do in the company. Ning Shu just had to go to the company and get a salary. Ning Shu was very satisfied. Wenxing also came to work. When he saw Ning Shu, he asked, "Did you find any left aberrations?" "I didn't find any. Why don't we walk around?" Ning Shu suggested. Wenxing thought for a while and nodded. "Okay, it's safer to walk around." After work, Ning Shu went to ride the motorcycle. This motorcycle was abandoned on the road. Ning Shu felt that it could be used, so she took it. Wenxing sat in the back with glasses on and checked the surroundings for aberrations. "Don't you want to buy a house? With this trend, the price of the house will definitely drop. The government wants to attract people. If the house is empty, the developer will also lose money." Wenxing said in boredom. Ning Shu was conflicted and hesitant. He was so poor that he wished he could split his money in half. When they passed by the bank, Ning Shu stopped the motorcycle and went to the bank to send some money to the client's home. Wenxing scanned everywhere and waited for Ning Shu to come out of the bank before continuing his patrol. Every day after work, Wenxing and Ning Shu would scan 1 or 2 streets. They wouldn't miss a single corner. Ning Shu suddenly thought of something and asked Wenxing, "Where do you think Su Hongyuan is now?" "I don't know," Wenxing shook his head. Ning Shu said, "I think we should monitor Su Hongyuan. What if he pulls out another xenomorph?" Luckily, he had managed to get rid of the xenomorph after much difficulty, but in the end, he had to pull it out again. He was so tired. Wenxing said, "I don't think so. The disaster has passed. Su Hongyuan has azoospermia. He doesn't have sperm to begin with. After the 2 times, there's no sperm left in his body. In other words, he couldn't pull it out even if he wanted to." Ning Shu could only laugh in his heart. The scientist who developed this drug really had a bad taste. He hoped that Su Hongyuan wouldn't be able to pull it out in the future. Wenxing didn't care about Su Hongyuan, but it made Ning Shu seem petty. Ning Shu rolled his eyes. The xenomorph attacked women first. There were many women in the hospital who had their bellies cut open. Even if the xenomorph in their bellies was taken out, their bodies were damaged. Ning Shu suddenly thought of a place. It seems that we haven't gone to the hospital yet. There must be women sent to the hospital for treatment. Maybe some of them were carrying them. Let me check the hospital's address. Wenxing looked dignified and handed his phone to Ning Shu. This is the nearest hospital. Ning Shu stepped on the accelerator. The motorcycle roared and sped towards the hospital. When they arrived at the hospital, Ning Shu didn't see the red dot in his glasses, which meant that there was no xenomorph. Ning Shu checked ward by ward. Compared to the depression of the city, the hospital was unprecedentedly lively. What did you find? Wenxing joined Ning Shu. I didn't find anything. Ning Shu shook his head. I didn't find anything either. Then let's go to the next hospital. Wenxing got on the motorcycle and Ning Shu sat behind. They scanned the hospital again and found nothing unusual. Ning Shu and Wenxing searched the hospital one by one and asked the doctor how to deal with the xenomorph in a woman's body. The doctor said that they killed it first and then treated it with high temperature. Ning Shu and Wenxing went to all the major hospitals, but there was no trace of the xenomorph. At least there was no red dot. It seems that this thing is gone. Wenxing moved his neck and said tiredly. Ning Shu didn't speak and looked at the pregnant woman who walked past him. The pregnant woman looked like she was about to give birth. Ning Shu stopped the pregnant woman and asked, "Are you going to give birth?" Ning Shu released his spiritual force and looked at the child in her stomach. With this sweep, Ning Shu was stunned because there was a football-sized xenomorph in her stomach. The woman was stopped by Ning Shu and looked a little worried. "Oh, I'm here for a prenatal checkup. I should be giving birth soon." "You haven't done a prenatal checkup before?" Ning Shu asked. "Are you sure you are pregnant?" "Little girl, what are you talking about? I'm pregnant. I just came back yesterday." There are monsters in this place. The pregnant woman left the city because of monsters. She heard that there were no monsters, so she came back for a prenatal checkup. In other words, when the pregnant woman left here, she carried a small xenomorph in her body. "What's wrong?" Wenxing came over and asked. Ning Shu covered his mouth with his hand and whispered to Wenxing, "She has xenomorph in her stomach. The real fetus may have been eaten by xenomorph." Wenxing quickly adjusted his glasses and looked at the woman's stomach. There was no red dot. Wenxing frowned tightly. "Are you sure?" Ning Shu nodded. "Why can't they locate the xenomorph in a human body?" "What do you want to do? You even want to rob a pregnant woman?" The woman looked at Ning Shu and Wenxing warily. She heard that the city is very chaotic now and her husband hasn't come yet. Ning Shu said with a smile, "I see that your stomach is so big. Let me help you in." The pregnant woman looked at Ning Shu suspiciously, shook her head and bypassed Ning Shu. "No need. They don't know each other and she doesn't know what these two people are thinking." Ning Shu and Wenxing followed behind the pregnant woman. What's in her stomach, they found out after a prenatal checkup. They don't know why the xenomorph stayed in the pregnant woman's stomach and didn't break out. But if they come to the hospital, they will definitely save their lives. "Do you think there will be many people carrying xenomorph?" Wenxing was worried. Ning Shu sighed as well. She was also worried. Chapter 1585. Ning Shu and Wenxing followed behind the pregnant woman. When they saw her enter the delivery room, they waited outside. Ning Shu released his mental power to check the situation inside. A gynecologist touched the pregnant woman's stomach. The doctor's expression was a little confused, and he touched it several times. Wenxing said, "It shouldn't be. The child was eaten by the alien. Didn't the pregnant woman feel it?" Ning Shu shrugged. "The placenta is still there, but the child is gone. The alien has taken over the nest." "No bleeding?" Wenxing asked. "Does an abortion not bleed?" Ning Shu spread out his hands. "You should ask the pregnant woman." What shocked Ning Shu was that the alien stayed in the stomach and didn't come out. Was it warmer in the stomach? If the alien used the human body as a host and waited for it to grow up, then it would burst out of the human stomach and come to this world with its fangs and claws. Ning Shu rubbed his eyebrows. In the delivery room, the doctor asked the pregnant woman, "Can you feel the fetal movement?" "Yes, it's very strong." "It hurts my stomach," the pregnant woman said. "Doctor." But as far as she could feel, there were no children's hands or feet. It was a round, naked thing. "Tumor? Go do an ultrasound," the doctor said. The pregnant woman took the list to do an ultrasound, and Ning Shu followed her to the ultrasound room. Ning Shu and Wenxing waited outside. After the pregnant woman went in for a while, there was a scream in the ultrasound room, and then a doctor in a white coat rushed out. "There's a monster." The ultrasound doctor went to call someone. Ning Shu walked into the ultrasound room. The pregnant woman was at a loss. How did her child become a monster? The pregnant woman was lying on the bed. Her exposed stomach moved. Obviously, the alien was moving in her stomach. The ultrasound doctor called someone, and the nurse came in and moved the pregnant woman to the bed. "Let's start the operation now." The pregnant woman struggled excitedly and shouted at the top of her lungs, "I'm really pregnant. My child is not a monster." The pregnant woman was pressed down and pushed into the operating room. Wenxing took out his gun. When the alien was taken out, he would destroy it. Although there was only one, it was possible for the aliens to once again wreak havoc on the world. Ning Shu used his mental strength to observe the situation in the operating theater through the wall. The pregnant woman who had been injected with anesthetic couldn't struggle even if she wanted to. Gradually, she fell asleep. Once it was confirmed that there was an alien in her stomach, she was immediately dragged over for surgery. She didn't even get the consent of her family. This was a special period. The doctor used a scalpel to cut open the pregnant woman's stomach. Something was moving inside her stomach. The bloodied xenomorph rushed out of the pregnant woman's stomach and swam around the operating room. It screamed and attacked the female nurse. The operating theater was in chaos. Someone stumbled out of the operating theater. Doctors and nurses ran out screaming. Ning Shu quickly put on a surgical mask and gave one to Wenxing. There are cameras in the operating theater. Their weapons were very advanced, so it was impossible for them to be photographed. Ning Shu could not destroy the camera because it recorded the entire operation. The pregnant woman was forced to undergo surgery to remove the child in her womb. How could she not make a fuss when she woke up? Once the surveillance footage of the surgery was released, he could not mess around anymore. Ning Shu put on his surgical mask, pulled out his gun, hurried into the operating theater, and aimed at the alien. The alien was very fast. One of its tails swam rapidly. Ning Shu's first shot was off. The operating theater was a mess. All kinds of surgical tools fell to the ground. The alien jumped up and wanted to pounce on the pregnant woman and get into her stomach. Wenxing pulled the trigger and hit the xenomorph's body. The xenomorph screamed in pain and then disappeared. Ning Shu picked up the gloves on the ground and put them on. He opened the pregnant woman's stomach to see if there were any more alien parasites inside. The pregnant woman's stomach was red and there was white pus. There was a foreign body in her body that would be inflamed. Ning Shu's gloved hand reached into the pregnant woman's stomach and slowly touched it. He grabbed the hemostatic cotton and wiped the blood. Ning Shu took out the blood clot in the pregnant woman's stomach and looked at it carefully. "What did you find?" Wenxing's voice was a little muffled through the surgical mask. "The inflammation is so serious. How did the pregnant woman endure it?" "The pus was very thick and yellow. Why didn't she go to the hospital earlier?" "No small alien?" Wenxing asked. "Take it for a test." Ning Shu took a cotton swab and dipped it in the pus mixed with blood. He went out of the operating theater and was ready to go for a test. The pregnant woman was lying on the operating table. Ning Shu asked the doctor to sew up her stomach. Ning Shu and Wenxing waited at the door of the laboratory. The doctor took out the test results. "What is it?" Ning Shu asked. "A lot of dead white blood cells. Everyone knows that pus is dead white blood cells. It is white blood cells that devour viruses and bacteria and die together." Wenxing asked directly, "Is there a man?" "He means is there a sperm?" "Doctor, no." Ning Shu and Wenxing breathed a sigh of relief at the same time. It seemed that there was no sperm left. Ning Shu took off his gloves, threw them into the medical bin, and left the hospital with Wenxing. As long as he encountered a pregnant woman, Ning Shu would release his spiritual force to check if it was a real child. He was afraid that it was an alien in the stomach. Ning Shu took out her mobile phone and made a call. "Hello, I want to call the police. XX hospitals sold unqualified drugs without the approved name of the national medicine. The giant sperm was taken out by a man named Su Hongyuan. This drug was developed by a human. The matter has been solved, now it's time to investigate who is responsible." Wen Xing raised his eyebrows and listened to Ning Shu calling the police. When she hung up the phone, he said, "This was destined to happen. I know, Su Hongyuan didn't want to do this. So what? Who forced him to take medicine without any guarantee? So many women have been hurt. Are you just going to let it go? Your dog biting people is your responsibility." Ning Shu's face was cold. Wen Xing didn't speak, so as not to lead the fire to himself. He used to think that this task enforcer's ability was good, but he didn't expect him to be so vengeful. Wen Xing felt that as long as the matter was solved, Su Hongyuan's life in the future will not be easy. There will definitely be people making trouble. Someone would definitely have to pay for this. However, Wen Xing just put these words in his heart. If this guy is an enemy, it will not be good to vent on him. Wen Xing coughed. "Let's go to other hospitals to have a look." Ning Shu said, "Oh," and got on the motorcycle. Ning Shu and Wen Xing ran to various hospitals and stayed at the door of the gynecology department. Ning Shu used her spiritual force to scan the women in and out of the building, especially the women with big bellies. After a day, Ning Shu was exhausted and felt that her spiritual force was about to dry up. Wen Xing took the copper coins. Since the glasses can't locate the alien living in the body, they can only use the most laborious and useful method. Chapter 1586. Ning Shu carried the medical box again. If he encountered an alien, he could press down on the person and get the alien out. The news of the alien in the hospital was blocked. After all, the news said that there were no more aliens, but in the end, an alien appeared. It was a slap in the face. People came back to the city one after another, which made the city a little angry. Ning Shu and Wen Xing were like looking for a needle in a haystack. They looked everywhere for possible aliens. Wen Xing went to the police station to explain the situation. It was necessary to screen the people who came back to the city and try to let everyone have a physical examination, especially the women. This kind of thing couldn't be done with just 2 people. A city with tens of millions of people was a huge project. This way, the efficiency of a few people in charge of an area was much higher. When they wandered around, Ning Shu would go in and ask for the room price if they came across a sales office. If they could buy it, they would buy it. The room price had dropped a little, but he didn't know if it would drop in the future. It wasn't easy to have a place to settle down and a house of his own. Ning Shu checked the money on his card. Other than his salary, there was no other income. He had to find a side job. However, the problem of the aliens had not been solved yet. He might even fail the mission. The side job matter had to be delayed. After the encounter with the aliens in the hospital, Wen Xing and Ning Shu didn't encounter any more aliens. Wen Xing's copper coin was floating in front of Wen Xing. This meant that there were no aliens around. Wen Xing held the copper coin and sat down. This mission is really tiring. Ning Shu put down the medical box. This mission is really disgusting. Ning Shu and Wen Xing sat on the side of the road like beggars. Sewers, garbage dumps, and other places. They were just short of going to heaven. Their image was not good. They were unkempt and dirty. There were even people throwing coins at them. Ning Shu quickly picked up the coins and put them in his pocket. He took out a plastic bottle and cut it open with a knife and placed it on the ground. "Brothers and sisters, please do me a favor. My father is sick now, sob sob sob." Ning Shu knelt on the ground and cried. Wen Xing, was he that old? He should be the younger brother. "Your father is so young?" The passers-by questioned Ning Shu. He was simply a scammer. Ning Shu pulled Wen Xing aside. "This is my brother. Hurry up and kneel down. Ask someone to save our father. Your self-esteem is not important. What's important is that you can save our father." Ning Shu persuaded earnestly. When Xing was speechless, someone threw money into the plastic bottle in front of Ning Shu. It wasn't much, just 50 cents, 1 yuan, 5 yuan, or 10 yuan. Thank you. You will be rewarded. Ning Shu stuffed the money into his pocket. When Xing had a cold expression on his face the entire time. He really wanted to say that it was a disgrace to his culture, but when he saw Ning Shu whistling as he counted the money, he decided against it. Not bad, it's a few dozen. Ning Shu said with a smile. We have enough food for today. Every day, he would wander around the city and work for free. When Xing was speechless. He was speechless. Just how badly did he need money? Aren't we eating fasting pills? When Xing asked. Then we need to drink water. When Xing, you're right, okay? How thick-skinned. As a person from ancient times, when Xing did not have the heart to argue with a woman. He had seen too many mission enforcers, and some of them were indifferent. Let's walk around the city. When Xing said. Especially those who escaped from the city. They were scattered around the city. What if someone brought them along? Ning Shu did not have any objections. It was all for the mission. Okay. Every day, after Ning Shu and when Xing got off work, they would wander around the city. They would go further and return to work the next morning. There was no choice. Ning Shu did not want to lose this job. During the break, Ning Shu placed a broken bowl in front of him. When Xing, don't you have any dignity? Ning Shu, what are you talking about? The wind is too strong. I can't hear you. I can't see you. Ning Shu and Wen Xing did not find anything. It was as if the alien in the pregnant woman's stomach was an accident. If that was the case, then there were no aliens in this world. Then their mission was completed. But Ning Shu's heart was not at ease. But he could not find anything. He was like a headless fly. Miserable. Ning Shu swore that he would not pick this kind of world again. Even if he wanted to come, he would come as a supporter. When Xing and Ning Shu looked at each other. Take a break. If there really is one, it will definitely appear. Working in the day and walking around the city at night during the weekend. Their physical strength was exhausted. Ning Shu nodded. Then that's it. If there really is a problem, we will write a report and call them over. Ning Shu looked at his scarred hands. How was this the hands of a white-collar worker in the city? When they returned, Ning Shu got some Chinese medicine from the pharmacy. He went back and made a cream to nourish his hands. His hands were still injured. Ning Shu applied the cream and then wrapped it with plastic wrap. He sat cross-legged on the bed and cultivated. But his body was too tired. Ning Shu cultivated and fell asleep on the bed. When he woke up, he first removed the plastic wrap from his hands. Otherwise, he would have pimples and inflammation of his pores. Ning Shu looked at his hands. They were much fairer and more pleasing to the eye. A pair of hands like this looked good when typing on the keyboard. Only then would he feel happy. Ning Shu applied some cream on his face. Recently, he had been living in the open and running around. His skin had been abused. It was very bad now. Ning Shu had to clean himself up. When he was almost done, Ning Shu changed his clothes and went to work. If he did not go to work, he would not have money. Without money, he could not buy a house. Ning Shu carried his bag and went out with a radiant face. He got on the subway. Although the subway was crowded, Ning Shu's good mood was not affected at all. At least it proved that he still had a job and could support himself. But there was a hand touching his butt again. Ning Shu's face was indifferent. He reached out and grabbed the hand touching his body. When his hand was grabbed by Ning Shu, the obscene person was stunned. He wanted to withdraw his hand but was held tightly by Ning Shu. Ning Shu pulled his fingers. The person behind him suddenly gasped in pain. My hand, my hand. Next time you molest a woman, I will teach you a lesson. Ning Shu said in a low voice. The man was sweating. Ning Shu let go and quickly moved away from Ning Shu. Ning Shu rolled her eyes. There was always someone molesting her. When Xing put down the newspaper and said to Ning Shu, who was standing on the left, You sit. Every time I meet you, you seem to be in this situation. When Xing put away the newspaper and stood up. But just as he stood up, a man quickly took his place and then closed his eyes and pretended to be dead. When Xing frowned and could only stand with Ning Shu. Ning Shu shrugged his shoulders. Every time I encounter this situation, you see it. You men are so thirsty and unbearable? Ning Shu rolled her eyes and said, reproduction is an instinct. This kind of behavior is controlled by instinct. Some people do this and some people don't. Chapter 1587. Not every man does such a dirty thing, Wen Xing said with a calm expression. Ning Shu looked at Wen Xing from the corner of his eyes. I think it's the same. Some people are direct, some need to be packaged. That man just now was just disgusting. For example, the way you quibbled was to package your reproductive instincts so that people wouldn't be so disgusted. Wen Xing, has anyone ever told you that you're very extreme? You can see through it but don't expose it, Wen Xing said helplessly. Ning Shu's mouth twitched. You didn't see through it, and you're still trying to beautify it. Everyone likes beautiful things, you know? Wen Xing said. It's important to entertain yourself. Ning Shu nodded. I see. But why did you break up with your girlfriend? Wen Xing, no way to talk. Not cute. I think that there's no distinction between rich and poor people, but there's a distinction between high and low. That man just now was very low, Ning Shu said. Wen Xing was silent and didn't say anything. Maybe he didn't agree with Ning Shu's idea, but he didn't deny Ning Shu's idea either. Another month passed. It seemed that the matter of the aliens was slowly fading away. Ning Shu and Wen Xing would wander around after work, but they didn't find any aliens. But the two of them didn't dare to report that the aliens were completely wiped out. What if they weren't? Who would bear the responsibility? No one could bear the responsibility for the future of a plane. Wen Xing thought for a moment and said, I think we should report this matter. There are countless creatures in a plane. It seems that this thing will find a host. I think we should report it as it is. Ning Shu nodded in agreement. If they didn't report it as it was, the responsibility would be too great if something happened to the plane. I've asked my system to report it, Wen Xing said. You should also ask your system to report it. Ning Shu was stunned for a moment and immediately nodded. Okay, 2333, report it, Ning Shu said to 2333 in his mind. I reported it before you said it, 2333 said. Ning Shu. What did you say? Ning Shu asked. To be honest, I suspect that this plane is going to change and evolve into a different power system, 2333 said. Could it be a battle between humans and demons? Evolution is a good thing. Why are the higher-ups so nervous? Ning Shu asked in surprise. 2333 thought for a moment and said, maybe he's afraid that when he's evolving he might accidentally destroy the plane. Especially since this thing is growing too fast and too big. It doesn't conform to the rules in the first place. The plane can't bear it. 2333 said, this is just my opinion. As for whether the heavenly axiom is out of control or the plane is evolving, I don't know. Ning Shu replied, oh, I didn't know you were so knowledgeable. 2333 said shyly, this is the knowledge that the system already has. I didn't learn it on my own. I'm really unlucky. The last plane collapsed and this plane is evolving. Looks like I'm 80% out of control. Ning Shu lamented in his mind. 2333 immediately explained, I really didn't know it would be like this time. Your partner this time, what's his name? He doesn't know either. You have to believe me. Ning Shu, I believe you. If I die, you won't have it easy either. Your answer is so straightforward. You just don't believe me. Ning Shu, then I don't believe you. See, I knew you wouldn't believe me. 2333 was about to cry. Ning Shu, get out. Ning Shu and Wen Xing waited for the people above. Fragrant Wind appeared in front of them in a military uniform. Ning Shu put away the broken bowl in front of him and stuffed the money in the bowl into his bag. Is the report true? Fragrant Wind's face was cold. Ning Shu and Wen Xing nodded. Fragrant Wind sighed imperceptibly and rubbed between his eyebrows. I'll stay here and observe. If there's really a problem with the plane, we might need a mission enforcer to stay here. Who's willing to stay? Fragrant Wind asked Ning Shu, and Ning Shu looked at the sky and nudged Xing, he's willing. Xing, that there was no love for his colleague. Xing silently took a step back. My girlfriend is still waiting for me to go back. Didn't you break up? Ning Shu looked at Xing in surprise. No, I still love her in my heart. Xing said passionately. When the mountains are flat and the sky and earth are united, I dare to break up with you. Ning Shu, damn, I give up. Fragrant Wind took off his military cap and looked at Ning Shu and Xing expressionlessly. We'll talk about this later. But if the plane is really going out of control, we need the mission enforcer to control the situation. There must be benefits, Fragrant Wind said. Ning Shu and Xing stared at Fragrant Wind. What benefits? Just say it. Whoever wants to stay, this plane will be given to them. From then on, they'll be the mission enforcer who builds the world, Fragrant Wind said. Giving a plane? Ning Shu was shocked. So generous. Then Ning Shu thought about it. Whether or not this plane could survive was a problem. Giving this plane was to tie down the mission enforcer. To make the mission enforcer pay attention to this plane at all times. But they could have a plane because of this. It was equivalent to building a world. This was generous. Ning Shu's heart couldn't help but beat faster. If she agreed, they wouldn't have to work so hard to find the origin of the world. They could become the mission enforcer who built the world. Ning Shu put his hands behind his back and pinched the back of his hands. Calm down. There was no such thing as a free lunch in the world. If they accepted, all their time would be spent on this plane. Because as their plane, they had to ensure that it wouldn't collapse. Xing turned his head and looked into Ning Shu's eyes. His breathing was a little rapid. All kinds of thoughts flashed through Ning Shu's mind. He took a step back. I want to leave. Not to mention what was going on with this plane, Fragrant Wind could actually promise a plane to the mission enforcer. This made Ning Shu very shocked. Then, Ning Shu didn't want to waste his time on a plane. And this plane was a little disgusting. It might collapse in the end. Her world could be built slowly. Fragrant Wind raised his eyebrows and looked at Xing. Then you'll stay? Xing was a little conflicted. He was calculating the gains and losses in his heart. It was too difficult for mission enforcers to build a plane. If they got a plane because of this, it would be a qualitative leap. Then can I leave? Ning Shu asked Fragrant Wind. Fragrant Wind nodded without much care. Ning Shu said Xing, maybe this plane will evolve successfully. It's worth a try. After all, building a world wasn't something humans could do. A suitable carrier and the origin of the world. Neither could be missing. Every one of them required luck. Fragrant Wind glanced at Ning Shu. Who told you that this plane is going to evolve? Ning Shu said directly, I guessed. Chapter 1588. The plane has undergone a major change. If it's not evolving, it's going to collapse. Isn't that the case? Fragrant Wind retracted his gaze. Ning Shu shrugged and left. If there's a chance in the future, let's do missions together. Xing called out to Ning Shu nodded. Ning Shu returned home. 2333's voice sounded in his ear. Mission completed. Do you want to leave the mission world? Ning Shu said immediately. Ning Shu felt dizzy. It was quite uncomfortable to return to the system space. Ning Shu sat on the sofa and absorbed the pure soul power. Well, the soul power this time was less. The mission was probably not completed well. Ning Shu opened his eyes and opened the attribute panel. Name, Ning Shu Age, 27 level, Super Mission Taker Points, 108/10 million points for 1 point. Soul, 2 Health, 1 Luck, 0 Wisdom, 2 Charm, 1 Spirit, 2 Martial Strength, 3 Aptitude, 2 Faith, 47,000 Merit, 15230 Soul Strength, 20 Rule, None Skills, 5th Ring Shooting Technique, Intermediate Close Combat Technique, Exceptional Martial Arts Proficiency, Intermediate Poison Technique, Beginner Business Management Knowledge, Beginner Code Programming, Beginner Lawyer Skill, Sage Ghost Catching Skill, Beginner Cooking Skill, Beginner Embroidery Skill. Honorary titles, Goddess of War, Selfless Ancestor Tools, Calm Aura, Calming Pill, Faith Aura, Amulet 4, Upgraded Amulet 2. Aura, Mother of the World Queen's Blessing, Model Worker Sister Chin Shi's Blessing, Leader Aura Grass Blessing, Lifelong Friend Meow Meow Meow's Blessing. Savior Zhu Su Nyang's Blessing, Founding Lady Chen Ermiai's Blessing, Beauty of the Law Chen Ning's Blessing, Blood Clan Nemesis Jasmine's Blessing, Transcending Race Communication by San Yang's Blessing, Brave Wang Ying's Blessing Complete Duan Shui's Wish, Not Be Harmed by the Xenomorphs, Save Money to Buy a House. Mission Completion Rate, 70%. Obtained 3 points, 2 Attribute Points, 4,000 Faith Power, 2,100 Merit Points, 40% of Soul Power, and 1 Authority Ticket. 40% of his soul energy was indeed very little. His harvest this time was not much. He received 2,000 Merit Points. Ning Shu did not expect to receive an authorization ticket. Ning Shu suspected that this privilege ticket was given to her because she was too unlucky to always appear in this kind of world. He was really drunk. The completion rate of this mission was only 70%. He was holding them back again. Ning Shu laid on the sofa and added his pitiful 2 attribute points. It was better to add it to his luck. Was she the one who was unlucky, or was life always going against the wind? Name, Ning Shu H, 27 level, Super Mission Taker Cumulative Points Plate, 108. 3 million, 1 accumulative point per accumulative point. Soul Value, 2 HP, 1 Intelligence, 2 Luck, 0/2 Charm, 1 Spiritual Power, 2 Martial Strength, 3 Aptitude, 2 Faith, 47004000 Merit, 152302100 Soul Strength, 20 Authorization Ticket, 1 Law Comprehended, none Honorary Titles, Goddess of War, Selfless Ancestor Tools, Calm Aura, Calming Pill, Faith Aura, Amulet 4, Upgraded Amulet 2 Skills, 5th Ring Shooting Technique, Intermediate Fighting Technique, Exceptional Martial Arts, Intermediate Poison Technique, Beginner Business Management Knowledge, Beginner Code, Programming, Beginner Lawyer Skills, Beginner Ghost Catching Skills, Beginner Cooking Skills, Beginner Embroidery Skills. Aura, Mother of the World Empress Blessing, Model Worker Sister Chin Shi's Blessing, Leader Aura Grass Blessing, Lifelong Friend Meow Meow Meow's Blessing. Savior Zhu Su Nyang's Blessing, Founding Lady Chen Ermiai's Blessing, Beauty of Law Chen Ning's Blessing, Blood Clan Nemesis Jasmine's Blessing, Transcending Race Communication by San Yang's Blessing, Brave Heart Wang Ying's Blessing. Ning Shu looked at the fist-sized black hole. When would this thing fuse? Ning Shu was really impatient. Because of this existence, she could not see the client in advance. Most of the time, she was passive. 2333 did not know if she was thinking about her dream lover or something, but she was always out of it. Ning Shu lay on the sofa and crossed her legs. She felt that it was necessary to have a deep conversation with 2333. Just as she was about to speak, she heard the sound of the chat system. Ning Shu opened the chat system and saw that someone wanted to add her. Number 65,892. It should be when Ning Shu clicked agree, and the system immediately made a ding-dong sound. A message had been sent. 65892. Hello, I am the system of mission 65892. I greet you on behalf of 65,892. Ning Shu, yes, hello. Has your mission taker accepted the plane? 65892, accepted. He said that it would take more time. Mission takers have a lot of time. I hope you can take care of each other in the future. Ning Shu saw Wenxing's words and felt that the other party must be a cute little loli. There was no reason. It was just a feeling. It pretended to be serious, but it was cute. Ning Shu, take care of each other. Thank you for this. Ning Shu transferred the 50 points of faith that Wenxing had spent to exchange for the gun. But as soon as she did, the other side turned back. 65892 system, I can't accept this for him. He was joking when he asked you to return the faith. If you return it now, he will definitely say that I am asking you to repay the debt. Ning Shu's face was expressionless, but her heart was exploding. It must be a little lowly. Ning Shu, this is supposed to be given to you. Since we are going to work together in the future, Some things should be clarified. Otherwise, it will not be awkward. She didn't lack this bit of faith power. 65892 system. Okay. I will tell him. Ning Shu, good girl, 65892 system. He is calling me. I am leaving. Ning Shu was once again sure that it must be a little lowly. She tried her best to socialize for her partner. Her cuteness was exposed. Ning Shu stretched and asked 2333, how long will it take for these two pearls to fuse? It should be in the final stage. I think it will form something very useful. Good things are not afraid of waiting. 2333 said. It had been fusing for so long. It seriously affected her mission. How could she not be anxious? 2333 felt wronged. Don't blame me. In order to suppress the aftermath of the power, I am really risking my life. I am not blaming you. Who knew this would happen? I think you are blaming me. Ning Shu was speechless. Then I am blaming you. See, I know you are blaming me. Ning Shu, what did you do this time? Otherwise, you wouldn't be like this. Chapter 1589. Ning Shu suspected that 2333 had been possessed. That was why he was so crazy. The sudden outburst of passion made Ning Shu think that 2333 had gone crazy. You must have done something terrible, Lin Feng said. 2333 said, no, I saw that you have an unprecedented dislike for me recently. I have been trying to explain to you that we are one. It is not true to say that we have feelings for each other. Our interests are the same. Our lives are tied together. Why would you think that I would do something to you? 2333 sounded puzzled. I must believe that we are in the same boat. Ning Shu believed that 2333 was just playing tricks, but he wouldn't dare to do anything to her. Their lives were in each other's hands. Ning Shu was holding 2333's balls. 2333 was also holding her neck. It was a strange situation. Their relationship was very strange. Then why don't you believe me? 2333 asked. Why do you insist that I believe you? Ning Shu couldn't help but ask back. I am trying to ease the tension between us. 2333 felt helpless. You are always mocking me. You are always mocking me too. You mocked me, that's why I mocked you. 2333 said. That's because you mocked me first. You hurt my young and tender heart. Ning Shu was weak. When she was ignorant, she was looking forward to her own system. She didn't expect that she would attract such a system. The naughty retard didn't explain. It was an indelible blow to her fragile heart and left an incalculable psychological shadow. 2333, no way, I remember that you mocked me first. 2333 retorted. Was he going to bring up old scores? Ning Shu crossed her legs. These are all things in the past. It is meaningless to talk about them. If you want me to believe you, you must have done something wrong. I want you to believe me because I am guilty. What kind of logic is that? Then don't believe me. Okay, I don't believe you. Ning Shu ended the topic. 2333. Ning Shu wanted to see how the alien world was going. If it could be resolved, Wenxing might be able to obtain a plane. However, there was no such thing as a free lunch in the world. Since they could promise a plane, if the plane collapsed, it would be all for naught. Sure enough, the xenomorph learned to directly drill into a human body when it was young. Women were the priority targets of the xenomorph because a woman's womb was the best place to live. Other than that, the xenomorph was also residing in a man's body. Some xenomorphs even crawled into a person's ears and nostrils when they were very young, lodging in a person's brain. He chewed on the brain. This caused a great deal of pain to the person, and sometimes, even the person who was lodging with them couldn't control their behavior. It was simply a carnival era for the aliens. Ning Shu was dumbfounded. How was he going to deal with such a world? It was too difficult. No wonder Fragrant Sky would promise a plane. Ning Shu saw that Wenxing was incomparably tired. Currently, the aliens were using the human body as a host and a source of food. If you want to kill them, You have to kill people. Things were even more chaotic than before. Ning Shu felt that the xenomorph would evolve, but he didn't know what would happen in the end. Ning Shu even suspected that this plane would become the end of the world. Sure enough, a plane wasn't so easy to obtain. This kind of thing could only be controlled in this plane. If it escaped to other planes, it would simply be too bad. Fortunately, she left early. This kind of thing was not within his ability. Even if the sky fell, there would be a tall person to hold it up. It was better to go and cultivate. Ning Shu stood on the passage to the law space. After a round and flat, he stood in the city of water. Then he went to the restaurant and ordered something, eating while comprehending the law of water. The law fluctuations in this city weren't strong, but Ning Shu didn't comprehend a trace of it. Ning Shu wanted to court death and go out of the city to take a look, but he also knew how much he was worth, so he ate the pastries with peace of mind. After eating, Ning Shu walked around. Ning Shu felt that in this city, the law in some places was strong, and in some places it was weak. Many mission takers couldn't leave the city, so they comprehended the law in the places in the city where the law was strong. However, these places were all occupied by powerful people. With Ning Shu's current state, not to mention competing with others for the place where the law was strong, her soul couldn't stand it if she stood in a place where the law was slightly stronger. Ning Shu wandered around the city and found a consultation room? A consultation room? Could it be the silver-haired man's consultation room? Did he open a chain store? Ning Shu thought about it and walked in. He smelled an elegant fragrance. It should be incense. The layout was the same as in Ning Shu's consultation room in the virtual space. Ning Shu took a deep breath. The silver-haired man probably wasn't here. Ning Shu planned to leave after taking a whiff of the incense, so as not to ask her for money. Ning Shu had just turned around when the silver-haired man came out of the inner room. He lifted the curtain and held a book in his hand. The silver-haired man sat down and placed his book in front of him. Ning Shu asked, "What do you want to ask?" Ning Shu didn't have any questions to ask. He just came in to take a look. However, Ning Shu was cautious and didn't ask any questions. Of the 3 free questions, there was only one left. Ning Shu pursed his lips, waved his hand, and was about to leave. "Pay the consultation fee," the silver-haired man said. 1 point card. Ning Shu was speechless. Fuck, it's so shady. So much. 1 point card was 10 million points. Everyone who comes here is a super mission taker. The consultation questions are definitely difficult, and the fee is expensive. Knowledge is power and it's money. I didn't ask anything. This was a shady shop. He couldn't enter in the future. The consultation fee was calculated from the moment he stepped into the consultation room. Ning Shu just wanted to roll his eyes. Ning Shu paid the consultation fee and left quickly. She didn't even bother to bargain with him. Ning Shu didn't even talk to the silver-haired man. If he chatted with him, she would be in trouble. She would probably have to sell 2,333 to get enough for the consultation fee. Seeing that Ning Shu had left and there were no customers, the silver-haired man picked up his book, lifted the curtain, and disappeared. Ning Shu found a place where the laws weren't that strong to comprehend the laws. Ning Shu sat down on the side of the road. Other than Ning Shu, there were other people sitting on the side of the road. Some people didn't have enough faith or merit to stay in an inn, so they found a street and sat down to comprehend. Ning Shu sat down and calmed his heart to comprehend. He felt as if he was floating in water. Then, Ning Shu leaned against the wall and fell asleep. Ning Shu slept comfortably. When she woke up, she saw others sitting upright in meditation with their eyes closed, trying to comprehend. Ning Shu repented, wiped the corners of his mouth, and sat upright to comprehend. Water was the source of life, nourishing all things. It was flexible, soft, and hard. /BK. Chapter 1590. In short, the law of water was a very complicated law. Ning Shu coughed, straightened his back, and began to comprehend. While comprehending, Ning Shu fell asleep again. Floating in the water made him want to sleep too much. Ning Shu gave up struggling. Instead of forcing his eyelids open, he might as well sleep. When Ning Shu woke up, everything was normal in the law space. Ning Shu rubbed his eyes and wandered around. He went to the trading hall to see if there was any news about the world's origin. The world origin was very precious because it was very hard to obtain and very difficult to obtain. But for mission enforcers, it was also very useless. Other than building a world, it was basically useless. Not only was it useless, but it was also hard to find. It was not something that made people scratch their hearts and lungs. Ning Shu's heart felt like it was being scratched by a rake. When he saw something he liked, Ning Shu would ask for the price. But the hard currency here was faith and merit. When he asked for the price, Ning Shu's liver was in pain. He was so poor every day. If there was a day where she could point to everything without blinking, this, and this, pack them all up for me. Of course, this was just Ning Shu's imagination. Here, Ning Shu rarely saw things that could be paid with points. Her spending level could not keep up with the prices here. What a scam! After becoming a super mission enforcer, basically no one cares about points. More people want merit and faith, 2333 explained. Merit and faith can be used for anything other than buying things? Ning Shu really did not know what they were used for. Merit will always be favored. As for faith, it can be used to kill gods. 2333's voice was a little low when he said the words kill gods. Kill gods? That was so domineering. How? Ning Shu asked. Mission enforcers kill with faith. At this level, normal attacks can't kill them at all. You can only use faith to destroy them. The pure power of faith. Faith can give birth to gods, and similarly, the power of faith can kill gods. Ning Shu thought about it for a moment. When the people above fought, everyone used faith power. Maybe if they used a big move, faith power would disappear. Ning Shu memorized the function of the power of faith. The power of faith was also a means of attack. Then are the points useless? Ning Shu asked. There's nowhere to spend them. Since it exists, it must be useful. 2333 said, there are special items with points, and there are also people who use points to buy a plane. But there are so many zeros in points, I don't think you can count them all in a day. Ning Shu was speechless. Points were still useful. They could be used to exchange for small things like fasting pills and medicines. He didn't expect to be able to buy anything big with his points. How's your understanding of the law? 2333 asked slowly. Ning Shu pursed his lips. It's very difficult. He couldn't help but want to sleep. Laws aren't something that can be comprehended in a day or two, Ning Shu said. Sometimes when he didn't get anything, he had to tell himself not to care, or else he would be anxious. The more anxious he was, the worse he could do things. That's true. Maybe you can comprehend it with an epiphany, 2333 said. Ning Shu was speechless. Hearing you say that, I'm even more anxious. Epiphany was something that could only be found by chance. Ning Shu came out of the trading hall with nothing in his hands. He should use the power of faith sparingly. It might be useful in the future. Ning Shu sat down and planned to comprehend the law of water again. If he could comprehend it, he would comprehend it. If he couldn't comprehend it, he would leave it to fate. Ning Shu sat cross-legged, feeling the waves of the water, and fell asleep again. After waking up, Ning Shu jumped up and said to 2333, let's not comprehend it first. In her current state, she wanted to sleep after reading a book. She said she wanted to comprehend the law, but in the end, she didn't comprehend anything. She felt the water gently shaking, making her want to sleep. The ever-changing water. Ning Shu returned to the system space. Looking at the black hole on the space wall, Ning Shu picked up something and threw it at the black hole. The black hole fluctuated and swallowed the thing. Ning Shu sighed and sat on the sofa. She heard the sound of chatting. Someone sent her a message. Ning Shu opened it. It was a message from Wenxing's system. 65892 system, dear, are you there? My master has something he needs your help with. The xenomorphs in that world are spreading too quickly, and he's starting to lose control. He needs your help. Ning Shu was stunned when she saw the message. She wouldn't be able to do anything even if she went. Ning Shu asked, didn't the higher-ups send anyone? What can I do to help him? 65892 system. They sent someone. If it's not convenient for you, then forget it. Sorry to bother you. I'll leave first. The black cube that had been on the bookshelf moved. Ning Shu was surprised and grabbed it to take a look. This was the intelligent life of a super civilization. Now that it moved, was it going to wake up? Ning Shu didn't think that the intelligent life would wake up. And she felt that this thing was sucking away her spiritual energy. It seemed that it was really moving. It used to be lying on the bookshelf like a corpse, but now it was moving. Ning Shu didn't want this thing to suck away her spiritual energy. Ning Shu put the black cube on the coffee table. 2333 said, since it wants spiritual energy and when Xing asked you for help, why don't you lend it to it? It's killing two birds with one stone. Ning Shu narrowed her eyes. Let it absorb other people's spiritual energy. It doesn't have to absorb other people's spiritual energy. Since it's an intelligent life, there must be a way to deal with it. 2333 said. The black intelligent life moved on the table. She didn't know if this thing could be controlled by Wenxing. If anything happened, it would be on her head. Ning Shu tossed the Rubik's Cube back and forth, or tossed it up and down. If the AI was a human, it would have vomited by Ning Shu tossing it back and forth. Ning Shu didn't know whether to believe 2333 or not. She asked, how do you think this thing can destroy the aliens? It can use its spiritual energy to destroy the aliens. After destroying the aliens, it can obtain their spiritual energy. All biological actions are done by spiritual energy and bioelectric waves. 2333 said, if the intelligent life is used well, it will be good for you in the future. Can you guarantee that it will only absorb the alien's spiritual energy and not take away people's spiritual energy? If there is a problem, it will be on my head. Ning Shu said while tossing the cube. Then I'll communicate with it. As long as it's a life, it can be communicated. 2333 said. Ning Shu thought of her ability to communicate with intelligent life forms and said, let me give it a try. Chapter 1591. Ning Shu tried to use her mind to imitate it, but her mind was swallowed by the Rubik's Cube. This brat, she wasn't here to deliver food to him. Ning Shuchao said to 2333, you try it. 2333 communicated with the Rubik's Cube, you can only kill aliens, not humans. The Rubik's Cube turned around and 2333 said, he agreed. Ning Shu, why did it feel so unreliable? Mind power was a good thing. Ning Shu opened the chat system and clicked on Wenxing's profile picture. Ning Shu, I have something to do and can't go. I'll lend you something. Can you give it to your master? 65892 system. That plane belongs to the master for now. You can send things to him. Ning Shu, that's good. Ning Shu sent the Rubik's Cube to the 65892 system and taught her how to use it. 65892 system, thank you. You're such a good person. I'll tell the master now. Ning Shu closed the chat system and opened the exchange store. He exchanged for fasting pills and some anti-inflammatory drugs. Ning Shu thought about it and exchanged for a set of silver needles, just in case. Ning Shu flipped through the page. Some things couldn't be exchanged, but some things could be exchanged. Ning Shu saw that handguns could be exchanged. Ning Shu thought about it and exchanged for a handgun. Since it could be exchanged, it meant that guns could be used in the plane. After the exchange, Ning Shu said, let's go do the mission. Ning Shu endured the pain of the soul transfer and felt his soul merge into his body. This should be a modern plane. After all, guns could be used. Ning Shu endured the discomfort of his soul and opened his eyes. He was a little stunned. What entered his eyes was an ancient-looking canopy. Ning Shu's eyes rolled. Everything around him was ancient. This was obviously an ancient plane. Why could guns be used? Was there a problem with the system? Ning Shu operated the ultimate martial arts in his body and silently accepted the plot. The client's name was Su Juru. Her father was the Marquis of Xianping and her mother was the third-rank Madam of Ronghua. He was born in a prestigious family and had a glorious family background. Su Juru herself was engaged to Prince Xian's legitimate son, who was also the heir to the throne. It was originally a marriage of equal social status. The story was very simple. The fiancé erased the existence of his fiancée in order to promise a transmigrated woman that he would be with her for the rest of her life. He directly said that the Su family was going to rebel. Su Juru was someone who couldn't live past one episode. This transmigrated woman had a plane transaction device with her, which could bring advanced weapons from the modern plane to this plane. The people in this plane were still brandishing their swords and spears, but in the end, the other party directly fired a shot. No matter how high one's martial arts skills were, they were still afraid of a kitchen knife. If it was really a situation where one fell, it would be a direct massacre. This was the reason why he could exchange for a gun. It turned out that there were guns in this plane. 2333. You want to absorb this planar trading device? Ning Shu was too lazy to expose 2333's thoughts. Since he was already here, she might as well take things as they come. Su Juru, the one who had entrusted the mission, had her entire family wiped out. All the women in the Marquis's mansion had become slaves or prostitutes. The client entered a brothel. Anjuachuran was her original fiancé, relying on the modern weapons with great lethality provided by Yin Qing. He sat on the throne, subdued the surrounding small countries, and attracted the congratulations of countless small countries. It was said that Zhuocheran had a divine weapon in his hands, which made people tremble in fear. The most eye-catching thing was the love story between the emperor and empress. Until Zhuocheran's death, Yi Qing was the only woman in his harem. It was really touching. And the client had a pair of jade arms as a pillow for 10,000 people, struggling bitterly in a dirty place. The client didn't expect that just because she was engaged to Zhuocheran, she wanted to kill her whole family. If she didn't want to get married, then don't get married. You could break off the engagement. At most, she would be a virgin for the rest of her life. She wouldn't implicate so many people in her family. It was better than forcing a smile in such a place. All her family members were dead, and the women were prostitutes and slaves. The client didn't hate Yi Qing. Yi Qing said that they would be together for the rest of their lives, but Zhuocheran killed his fiancée's family behind her back. He said that he took care of everything himself and didn't need Yi Qing to worry. The reason for this was either that he really loved Yi Qing, or that Yi Qing had the dimensional trading device in her hands, so she was even more worthy of love. Zhuocheran was the nephew of the current emperor, and the emperor liked him very much. He treated him like his own son, and sometimes his own son had to stand aside. There were also rumors that Zhuocheran was the current emperor's son. Then Zhuocheran's father, Prince Xian, was in a bit of a predicament. But Zhuocheran's mother had died long ago. As for the details of the matter, and whether the emperor had anything to do with his sister-in-law, no one could say for sure. Su Juru's wish was to ensure the safety of the entire Marquis residence, so that Zhuocheran wouldn't be able to sit on the throne. After receiving the plot, Ning Shu propped himself up with his hands and got out of bed to drink some water. Seeing this wish, Ning Shu's first thought was to pull Yi Qing over. "Come, sister, let's kill Zhuocheran and then ascend to the throne. How about it?" She worked so hard to assist Zhuocheran, just for the sake of being together for the rest of their lives. Just for the sake of having you as the only woman in the harem? With such a big killing weapon in her hands, she was definitely fit to be the empress. Whoever was unconvinced, come and eat a bullet. She could directly attack. For Zhuocheran to be able to ascend to the throne so smoothly, on one hand, it was because of fate, and on the other hand, it was because of the weapon provided by Yi Qing. The client's feelings towards Yi Qing were very complicated. Because of one sentence from her, the entire family died. But it wasn't Yi Qing who did it. In fact, Zhuocheran did it without her knowing. He promised Yi Qing to be together for the rest of their lives. The person the client wanted to kill the most was Zhuocheran, this fiancé. Ning Shu didn't really believe that it was all for love. But Yi Qing's value was much higher than the entire Marquis Xianping's residence. It was worth it for him to spend effort to eradicate the Marquis Xianping's residence. If he wanted to be with Yi Qing, the Marquis Xianping's residence would be an obstacle. It would be strange if they didn't cause trouble. Moreover, I Ching's father was just a small official in the Ministry of Rights. Offending the Marquis Xianping's residence would cause endless trouble in the future, so he might as well cut the weeds and eliminate the roots. He killed decisively and strategically. In the end, as a prince, he defeated the emperor's sons and sat on the throne. Su Juru was a little bitter. It was just because she was in the way that it had to be like this. Her impression of her fiancé was only that her father said that the prince, Zhuochen, was a dragon among men and was favored by the emperor. He was a good husband. When there was a banquet, she looked at him from afar and felt that he was very good. As the daughter of a big family, there were some things that she didn't have to decide. Su Juru felt that Zhuocheran was very good. And then there was no and then. The client didn't have a deep impression of I Ching. He only knew that she was a heroine who founded the army single-handedly. This army made people tremble in fear. It was Zhuocheran's firm backing. Ning Shu, sister, how about killing Zhuocheran and ascending to the throne? But with such a big killing weapon in I Ching's hands, would Zhuocheran be at ease? Promising to be together for the rest of their lives was just to tie I Ching down. Chapter 1592. The woman who came was soft-hearted and said a few nice words. Others had 3 wives and 4 concubines, but he only had 1 woman. She would be so touched that her snot dripped down. I Ching and Zhuocheran's love was considered to be on par with each other. Both parties had the same interests. Only interests were the most reliable relationship. Zhuocheran had to rely on the modern weapons provided by I Ching. I Ching had also received the love of an emperor, the only love. Ning Shu did not believe that Zhuocheran did not covet the things in I Ching's hands. After all, under the current conditions, it was impossible to make a gun because the economic conditions did not allow it. It was like building an attic in the sky. Zhuocheran could only rely on the weapons I Ching got from the modern world. As an emperor, could he really rest assured? Ning Shu was not optimistic about this love. Besides, I Ching obviously had the conditions to ascend the throne herself. Why did she have to stuff herself into the harem? Was love so important? Love until the end of time, why don't you go and generate electricity? Miss, why are you up? Lian Xiao pushed the door and entered the room. She saw Ning Shu in her underwear sitting on a stool drinking tea. Ning Shu immediately closed her legs tightly. The client was a lady from a noble family. She paid attention to her image. She engraved the rules into her bones. In the eyes of the commoners, noble ladies were quite arrogant. The client was sold to a brothel. The client wanted to be Su Juru every day. Aren't you very arrogant? Aren't you very proud? Breaking your arrogance, kneeling on the ground to beg me, serve me. The pleasure of conquering simply made one feel good from the heels to the top of the head. Lian Xiao quickly took a coat and draped it over Ning Shu's body. Miss, put it on. The spring weather is cold now. Miss cannot catch a cold. Ning Shu grunted and put on her clothes under Lian Xiao's service. After freshening up, she went to the front yard to greet old madam's parents. On the way, she met a few concubine sisters. They looked at her with envy and jealousy. Ning Shu did not have any feelings for these concubine sisters. After Marquis Xianping collapsed, these concubine sisters were like the original owner. They either became prostitutes or servant girls. They would always be slaves. Seeing Ning Shu's forgiving gaze, the concubine-born sisters didn't know what to say. You look at me, I look at you in silence. Ning Shu brought a group of concubine-born sisters to greet old madam. Before he even walked in, he could already hear bursts of laughter coming from inside. Lian Xiao pulled up the curtain and Ning Shu walked in. The place where old madam lived was very simple, but everything was good. In such an environment, Ning Shu felt like he was in the Jia mansion of the dream of the Red Chamber. Juru is here. Matriarch Ning Shu waved her hand. Ning Shu immediately felt a few jealous gazes on his back. Obviously, he was jealous that Ning Shu was favored. Ning Shu couldn't help but shake his head in his heart. Having a stable and peaceful life and being able to scheme against each other was also a blessing. When the nest is overturned, no egg can remain intact. Ning Shu moved in small, quick steps. The swaying of his skirt should not be too big as he moved in front of Matriarch. This is your cousin Gu Fanlu. His grandmother and I are biological sisters. Matriarch Ning Shu introduced the man standing beside her. This man was dressed in white and wore a crown on his head. With a smile, he had a harmless temperament. The first impression he gave was that of a white rabbit. He was dressed in white and wore a crown on his head. His ears were raised high. Very cute. Younger cousin. Gu Fanlu bowed to Ning Shu. Ning Shu bowed to return the greeting. Older cousin. Ning Shu felt that the way older cousins addressed each other was very ambiguous. Your older cousin has entered the capital to take up a post. He will stay in the marquee residence for 2 days. When his residence is completed, he will move out. Matriarch said. Ning Shu naturally didn't have any objections. If he looked like a white rabbit, he was afraid that he was a black rabbit. How could someone who mingled in the officialdom be so white and harmless? He must be a black-bellied rabbit. Ning Shu sat down in his seat. Matriarch introduced the other daughters of the Su family to Gu Fanlu. Gu Fanlu was polite and harmless. She didn't have any offensive power. No matter how harmless a rabbit was, it would still bite people and kick an eagle. Matriarch liked her younger sister's grandson. She pulled Gu Fanlu to talk about various things. Gu Fanlu listened obediently and didn't interrupt. She only spoke when it was time for her to speak. She didn't steal the limelight. Interpersonal communication was a skill. Rabbit Gu was like a fish in water. She wasn't a simple character. Ning Shu stared at Rabbit Gu. The client, Su Juru, didn't take this cousin to heart. He was an outsider. In addition, he was already engaged. He didn't care about Rabbit Gu. He only had a slight impression of her. It was Matriarch who said that if she wasn't engaged to Prince Xian's residence, Gu Fanlu would also be a good candidate. But now that the marquee residence was in danger, Ning Shu had to be wary of anyone. Ning Shu used the teacup lid to brush off the floating tea powder. He suspected that Gu Fanlu's arrival had something to do with the destruction of the marquee residence. She didn't come earlier or later. She just had to come at this time. Although Matriarch and Gu Fanlu's grandmother were biological sisters, the family's interests were above all. Matriarch was very happy. She asked Gu Fanlu to stay for breakfast and asked her granddaughters to stay. Ning Shu felt that Matriarch was going on a blind date. She almost said directly, "Which granddaughter of mine do you like? Marry her." Men and women ate with a screen. Ning Shu, his mother, and the other daughters of the concubines sat at the same table. The other concubines weren't qualified to come. During the meal, Ning Shu ate very slowly and elegantly. He had to maintain his manners. Fortunately, Ning Shu had been an empress, a princess, and a daughter of a noble family. He could still hold on. After the meal, Ning Shu was half full. Madame Rongwa said, "That's enough." Matriarch was old and her hair was all white. She had a head of silver hair and wore a dark green headband. She was a rich old lady. Matriarch ate little and put down her chopsticks. Ning Shu and the other daughters of the concubines also put down their chopsticks under Madame Rongwa's reminder. The others put down their chopsticks. Gu Fanlu also put down her chopsticks without a trace. In any case, the meal wasn't very comfortable. After the meal, Ning Shu returned to his courtyard and thought about what to do next. Did the destruction of the marquee residence have anything to do with Rabbit Gu? Ning Shu was very suspicious of him. She quickly went back to cultivate. Right now, she was powerless. Especially when the other party had a gun. She also had a gun, but the other party had guns. One person against a group. The result was self-evident. She might as well assassinate Zhuo Cheiran. Death would be the end of it. But counting the time, Zhuo Cheiran and Yin Qing had already interacted. The two of them weren't far from having feelings for each other. When they tested each other, Yi Qing said, "The man I ask for in this life has to be loyal to me. I want a couple for the rest of my life." That was when Marquis Xianping was doomed. Ning Shu didn't have much time left. Ning Shu walked quickly to Marquis Xianping's study. There was a need to talk to Marquis Xianping, who was the head of the household. Chapter 1593. She was a woman of the inner residence, so there were some matters that required Marquis Xianping to step in. No matter what, she had to have the strength to fight back. Ning Shu went to Marquis Xianping's study, pondering how to talk to him. "Cousin." Gu Fanlu called out to Ning Shu and walked in front of Ning Shu. "Cousin." Rabbit Gu said. Ning Shu bowed. "Cousin shouldn't be here. This is the inner courtyard." The inner courtyard was filled with women. Why was a man loitering around here? Gu Fanlu said to Ning Shu, "I'm lost. How do we get out? I have to find uncle." Gu Fanlu said. Ning Shu did not believe that Gu Fanlu was directionally challenged. "Go east. Turn west at the corner," Ning Shu said blindly. Gu Fanlu was at a loss. She looked around, clearly unable to distinguish between north, south, east, and west. Is there any special building? It's more convenient to go around. It's not easy to distinguish between north, south, east, and west. Fu Fanlu said. Ning Shu. She was really an angel with broken wings. "I'm going to father's study. Let's go together." Ning Shu said with small steps. "Let's go to the ancestral hall first." Gu Fanlu said, looking at Ning Shu with clear eyes. Ning Shu's heart skipped a beat as he asked, "Why are you going to my ancestral hall?" Didn't she find it abrupt? Going to someone else's house to see the ancestral hall? Gu Fanlu said, "I'm a junior. It's fine to offer incense." Ning Shu's heart raced as he thought of the gold bricks on the ground of the ancestral hall. When Marquis Xianping followed the Zhou family to conquer the world, he was a merchant who provided money and helped the Zhou family's ancestors. Then he was given a hereditary noble title, Marquis Xianping. Marquis Xianping could be said to be very rich. That was why some people said that Zhuoche was the illegitimate son of the current emperor. Because with such a family, it was like having a treasury. The floor of the ancestral hall was made of gold bricks, and the bricks on the walls were wrapped in a layer of mud. Otherwise, the ancestral hall would be a house of gold. Ning Shu's expression didn't change as he said, "The ancestral hall is currently closed. It will only be opened during festivals, such as the birth and death of the ancestors." Gu Fanlu bowed. "I was rude." Ning Shu brought Gu Fanlu to Marquis Xianping's study. The two of them did not speak on the way. Ning Shu was absolutely vigilant about the arrival of his cousin, Gu Fanlu. Maybe this person was one of Zhuoche Ran's men. Back then, Zhuoche Ran said that Marquis Xianping had committed treason. There was a letter in which the handwriting was Su Zhuru's father's handwriting and Marquis Xianping's seal. He even said that Marquis Xianping was providing financial support to the enemy. No one in the officialdom was clean, but Marquis Xianping was not stupid enough to commit treason. Coincidentally, the ancestor of the Zhou family had successfully rebelled with the financial support of the Su family and ascended to the throne. Fearing that the Su family would repeat the same trick, they sponsored others to rebel. He also discovered that the Su family's ancestral hall was actually made of gold. Such a large ancestral hall was actually made of gold. Fuck, even I, a member of the emperor's family, didn't use gold to decorate my ancestral hall. You're just an official, yet you're even more extravagant than me. What the hell? The national treasury was empty. The evidence was both true and false. It said that Marquis Xianping plundered the people's wealth and sponsored the enemy. Marquis Xianping's residence had attracted a disaster. When a pig was fattened, it should be slaughtered. Marquis Xianping's residence was the emperor's machine. When encountering a natural disaster, he asked the officials to think of a solution. Marquis Xianping's residence tacitly handed over dozens of times more money than the other officials. This was the way of survival for Marquis Xianping's residence. Handwriting, gold ancestral hall. Ning Shu's heart was spinning. This cousin who suddenly came. Ning Shu opened his mouth and asked Gu Fanlu, "Where did cousin work before?" Gu Fanlu replied, "A small official in Yong County." Yong County, ah. This place was very remote. It was really not easy to be transferred back to the capital. Ning Shu said in surprise, "Then cousin must have done a good job. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been transferred back to the capital." Gu Fanlu smiled, a little shy like a rabbit. "I didn't do a good job either. I was just a little lucky." Fate, life was the weak's excuse, luck was the strong's humble words. When Gu Fanlu said that she was lucky, Ning Shu did not say a word. When they reached the door of Marquis Xianping's study, the manservant who followed Marquis Xianping went in to report. Ning Shu and Gu Fanlu stood at the door. The manservant came out and said, "Master, let cousin young master go in. Second miss, you can go back." With Gu Fanlu, this outsider, Marquis Xianping would definitely receive Gu Fanlu first. Ning Shu did not say much and turned to return to his courtyard. It was better to cultivate first. He would tell Marquis Xianping about the ancestral hall matter later. The ancestral hall matter was not a big deal, but it was not a small matter either. It became the last straw that broke Marquis Xianping's residence. Ning Shu felt that he needed to observe this cousin of his. Lian Xiao followed behind Ning Shu. Ning Shu said, "Cousin young master is funny. A grown man actually got lost?" "Yes, getting lost looks a little cute," Ning Shu said lightly. No one would have any vigilance against such a person. Ning Shu returned to his room and said to Lian Xiao, "I want to rest for a while. Do not disturb me." When Lian Xiao went out, she closed the door. Ning Shu lifted his skirt and kicked off his shoes. He sat cross-legged on the bed and formed seals with his 10 fingers. He set up a yang gathering array and started cultivating. Spiritual energy and yang fire energy flowed into his body. His meridians hurt and some filth appeared on his body. This was the filth in his meridians. Ning Shu stayed in the room until the sky turned dark. Lian Xiao was really worried and pushed the door open to enter. Ning Shu got up from the bed. "Prepare water for me to bathe." Ning Shu washed the filth off his body and ate some food. When everyone went to bed, Ning Shu wore dark clothes. He avoided the guards and found Gu Fanlu's room. The candles in Gu Fanlu's room were still lit. Ning Shu jumped on the roof and gently lifted the tiles. Gu Fanlu was still reading, slowly flipping through the pages. At this time, everyone was asleep but Gu Fanlu was still reading. According to modern time, it was only 9 o'clock and the nightlife had just started. However, if the ancient people did not go out, they would have already woken up. Ning Shu squatted on the roof and observed Gu Fanlu. Gu Fanlu yawned, put away her book, and went to bed. Even though Gu Fanlu was asleep, Ning Shu still guarded on the roof. She was worried about Gu Fanlu. She was responsible for the lives of dozens of people in Marquis Xuanping's residence. Gu Fanlu slept soundly. Ning Shu bitterly fed the mosquitoes on the roof. When dawn broke, Ning Shu hurried back to his room. After washing up and eating breakfast, Ning Shu said to Lian Xiao, "Prepare some light dishes and put them in the food box." Ning Shu waited for Marquis Xianping to finish the morning court and wait for him at the door of the study room. The civil and military officials woke up early for morning court and did not eat breakfast. They would only leave the court when they were about to collapse from hunger. If the officials who lived further away from the palace had to wake up in the middle of the night, it would not be easy to attend the morning court. Chapter 1594. Ning Shu carried the food box and waited for Marquis Xianping to leave court. When Marquis Xianping came back, his legs were shaking. Even if he could eat some snacks to fill his stomach on the way, he couldn't bear it after the court session. Marquis Xianping saw Ning Shu and asked, "What's the matter?" Marquis Xuanping's expression was very ugly. He probably encountered something unpleasant in the court and didn't give Ning Shu a good look when he saw him. Ning Shu opened the food box and placed the light dishes on the table one by one. He placed the porridge in front of Marquis Xianping. "Father, eat first." Marquis Xianping was also hungry and started eating. Marquis Xianping was in his 30s. He had a beard and looked very dignified. "Father, what problem did you encounter?" Ning Shu asked. "It's nothing. It's all court matters. You don't have to worry about it," Marquis Xianping said directly. After thinking for a while, he said, "Have you attended the banquets of the various matriarchs recently? Did you hear any rumors?" "What rumors?" Ning Shu asked. Marquis Xianping frowned tightly. "Did you have a conflict with the Prince Xian family?" Ning Shu shook his head. There was nothing unpleasant with his future husband's family. Could it be that Zhuocheran was starting to deal with Marquis Xuanping's residence now? The Hanyang region is dry again. Not a single blade of grass grows. Marquis Xianping put down his chopsticks. Ning Shu instantly understood. Usually, when such a thing happened, it was time for Marquis Xianping to pay. Ning Shu poured a bowl of porridge for Marquis Xianping and said, "For the sake of the people, so what if father pays a bit of money?" This was the tacit understanding between the imperial family and the Su family. Who asked your family to be rich? To put it bluntly, Marquis Xuanping's residence was only a merchant with a relatively high status. They had the noble title of a hereditary marquis. It's nothing to pay a bit of money. After all, it wasn't the first time he had been fleeced. Marquis Xianping was dissatisfied with Zhuocheran, his future son-in-law. The disaster this time is a bit serious. Zhuocheran told His Majesty to take out 5 million taels of silver. Ning Shu, was Zhuocheran starting to deal with Marquis Xianping's residence from now on? 5 million taels of silver was really strenuous. It was equivalent to half a year of the national treasury. He gave me 5 million this time. Next time, he'll ask for 10 million. 10 million each time. I can't help but ask for it. Follow your mother to Prince Xin's residence and walk around, Marquis Xianping said. I'll get your mother to prepare a gift later. Let's go together. Ning Shu nodded and asked, Then Dad, give me 5 million. I'll give it to you this time. Next time, I'll only give more and not less. I can't give it to you, Marquis Xianping said directly. Xianping Ho was really conflicted. Each time he reached out for money, the more he asked for, the more he wanted. He was such a bully. It turned out that there was a thorn buried here. During the drought this time, Marquis Xianping did not pay the money and instead gave the money to the ancestral hall. I don't want the emperor to be scared. I asked you for money, but you didn't give it to me. Instead, you gave it to the enemy. What kind of intentions are you harboring? Ning Shu said, Dad, it doesn't have to be real money. It's also fine to give food. Just say that 5 million is not enough. Donate all the food in the store. Now that Hanyang is suffering from drought, there will definitely be no harvest this year. Now that the price of food has risen so high, the emperor will definitely be happy. Ning Shu also did not agree with giving out 5 million. If you give 5 million so easily, you can ask for more next time. In short, you can't give it to the emperor so easily. You have to give the emperor something like, I've already sold everything I have. You have to leave me some cash flow. Alright, you're a girl. Don't worry about these things. Marquis Xianping waved his hand and asked Ning Shu to take away all the dishes on the table. He was no longer in the mood to eat. Ning Shu placed the dishes in the food box and said, Dad, I feel that our ancestral hall is too ostentatious. If the emperor knew, he would definitely grumble in his heart. A house full of gold can't even afford 5 million. When Marquis Xianping heard Ning Shu's words, his face could not help but darken. That was built by the ancestors. The ancestors had already passed away, Ning Shu said silently in his heart. Ning Shu carried the food box out of Marquis Xianping's room and met Gu Fanlu, who was feeding the fish in the garden. Gu Fanlu held the fish food in his hands and squatted by the pond, staring at the fish in a daze. From time to time, he would throw some fish food into the water. Ning Shu avoided him, not wanting to interact with him too much. Cousin. When Ning Shu heard the voice, he did not turn his head. He did not hear anything. Cousin. Miss, young master is calling for you. Lian Xiao, who was following behind Ning Shu, could not help but say. I didn't hear. Cousin. Gu Fanlu caught up with Ning Shu. Cousin, why did you run away when you saw me? Ning Shu shook his head. I didn't hear. Cousin, why are you looking for me? This is my first time in the capital. Is there anything special about this place? For example? Ning Shu asked with a sidelong glance. For example, a place where scholars interact? Gu Fanlu was a little confused. You also know that my sense of direction is a little blurry. It was not a little blurry, it was very blurry. A place where scholars interact? Ning Shu said faintly, Hong Lu, cousin, I'm not that kind of person. How can I go back to that kind of place? Ning Shu wanted to roll his eyes. I didn't say that kind of place is not good. What are you refuting? Reciting poems, matching beauties, I'm telling the truth. Scholars like to go to such places. Gu Fanlu's ears turned red. I really don't go to such places. Cousin, you're a woman. How can you say such a dirty place? Ning Shu rolled his eyes. Going to such a place to steal women and make waves, and still say it was a dirty place. If you men have the ability, then don't go there. After going to whore, you say you're so damn dirty. Their existence was reasonable. They only existed when there was a market demand. If it were not for the fact that he was concerned about his ladylike image, Ning Shu would have kicked Gu Fanlu, who was blocking in front of him. Ning Shu bowed. Cousin, I have to go back to embroidery. Why are you looking for me? Gu Fanlu said, I just wanted to say hello. Ning Shu said politely and distantly, Cousin, you're a man outside and I'm a woman. There's a difference between men and women. It's not good for others to see us. Did he stop her just to say hello? I was rude. I apologized to cousin. Gu Fanlu cupped her hands in greeting Ning Shu. Ning Shu returned the greeting. Cousin, you're too serious. It was really tiring to talk. Ning Shu returned to his courtyard. Soon, Madame Ronghua called Ning Shu over. She said that she had sent an invitation to Prince Xian's residence and that a donation banquet would be held in 2 days. It was a modern charity banquet. Let the noble ladies in the backyard donate some money. The banquet would be held at Marquis Xuanping's residence. Ning Shu refused in his heart because the ancestral hall of Marquis Xuanping's residence was a ticking time bomb. If someone discovered it, especially in front of so many people, it would be terrible. Ning Shu said, Mother, change the venue. Don't hold it in our house. Madame Ronghua looked at Ning Shu with a broad expression and asked, Then where do you think is a good place? This time, the main guests are the women of your future husband's residence. You have to be considerate. Chapter 1595. You're not young anymore. There are some things you need to learn. Madame Ronghua was elegant and didn't get angry because of Ning Shu's denial. Ning Shu thought for a moment and said, The summer lotus in the hibiscus pavilion is blooming just right. The lotus leaves are endless and there's a long bridge across the lake. It's a good day to admire the lotus. Madame Ronghua thought for a moment. But it's hot outside. Actually, it's very cool in the pavilion. Besides, it's not too hot near the water. The breeze is gentle and there's ice in the corner of the pavilion. It won't be hot. Madame Ronghua nodded. Since that's the case, we can write invitations. Send invitations to the young miss of the Yi family too. Ning Shu said. Madame Ronghua was a little confused. Which Yi family? Then she thought of something and asked, Is it the daughter of Yi Guangyan, the Minister of Rights? Sometimes, not everyone could attend these noble ladies' banquets. They had to be invited by the organizers. The Yi family wasn't qualified to attend this level of banquet. Ning Shu nodded. Since they're officials in the same court as father, they can attend. Do as you see fit. Madame Ronghua obviously had concerns, but she let Ning Shu make the decision. Ning Shu asked someone to find out about the Yi family, how many daughters they had and how their relationship with Yi Qing was. If their relationship wasn't good, Ning Shu could win in the chaos. The source of all this was the plain trading device in Yi Qing's hands. After solving this, Zhuoche Ran would be easy to deal with. If she went up against Zhuoche Ran, it would be too dangerous. She might attract too powerful hostile forces. If she wanted to deal with Zhuoche Ran, Yi Qing definitely wouldn't watch her deal with her lover. Yi Qing had 2 younger sisters and their relationship wasn't very good. It was just that they were on good terms. Ning Shu also wrote invitations to Yi Qing's 2 younger sisters. The invitations were sent out. When Yi Qing received the invitation, she was surprised. She wouldn't go to this kind of banquet. She was busy training her army. Yi Qing touched the bracelet on her wrist. She didn't have time for this kind of hypocritical banquet between women. But looking at the invitee at the back of the invitation, Marquis Xianping's residence? That scoundrel's fiancé was from Marquis Xianping. With Zhuoche Ran's temperament, The woman who married him was really unhappy. Recently, I Ching had been annoyed by this man. As a policewoman, I Ching was a little impatient with such people. If it was in modern times, she would have already handcuffed him. Could he act like a hooligan just because he had a handsome face? Forget it, it was better to train his own army. Only in this ancient era would he have a place to stand. As for Zhuo Qiren's fiancée, I Ching didn't plan to pay attention to her. Just based on the fact that Zhuo Qiren had a fiancée and spent his life with her, it was impossible for them to be together in this lifetime. She was a modern person and would not fight with an ancient woman for a man. So she would not go to this banquet. Zhuo Qiren and Marquis Xianping's residence had nothing to do with her. I Ching didn't plan to go, but her father, I Guangyuan, called her over and told her to attend the banquet. The inner court was closely related to the changes in the officialdom. If the inner court had a good relationship with the harem, it would also be beneficial. I Guangyuan insisted that his daughter must attend the banquet. I Ching could only agree helplessly. On the day of the banquet, I Ching brought her two sisters to attend the banquet. For this banquet, the two sisters put on makeup and incense, wishing that they could wear all their jewelry. I Ching couldn't help but facepalm. She told her two sisters that there was no need to dress so gorgeously. In the end, her two sisters said that she was meddling in other people's business and wanted them to make a fool of themselves at the banquet. I Ching shrugged. What could she say? It was a thankless task. The three girls squeezed into a carriage and headed towards the Lotus Pavilion. The Lotus Pavilion was a place that the nobles often went to in the city. It was a patch of lotus flowers. In summer, it was especially spectacular. I Ching got off the carriage with her two sisters and saw that there were already people at the Lotus Pavilion. There were guards around to protect everyone's safety. Ning Shu saw I Ching from afar. I Ching was a rather heroic person. She was dressed very plainly and had a hairpin on her head. However, her charm suppressed the two girls beside her. Ning Shu smiled and went up to her. You must be Miss I. Welcome. I Ching bowed to Ning Shu. Ning Shu hurriedly returned the greeting. Please come in. Ning Shu used his spiritual power to scan her and saw that there was a gun tied to I Ching's leg. Miss Su is too polite. I Ching nodded and went in with her two sisters. She couldn't help but look back at Ning Shu, who was greeting the guests. This should be Zhuo Qiren's fiancée. She was a lady from a noble family. I Ching pursed her lips, a trace of sadness on her face. I Ching found a seat in the pavilion and sat down. She was surrounded by noble ladies from noble families. Each and every one of them was dignified and elegant. They chatted with each other. Even when they laughed, they used fans or handkerchiefs to cover their mouths. Beautiful and elegant. Ning Shu secretly observed I Ching. I Ching was a very charming woman with a heroic spirit. She was different from the women raised in the backyard. Ning Shu walked over and sat beside I Ching. Miss I. Ning Shu glanced at the bracelet on I Ching's wrist. The bracelet was made of high-quality mutton fat white jade. On I Ching's hand, there was a kind of gentle beauty that softened I Ching's fierce temperament. Miss Su. Ning Shu said, let's go to the bridge and take a look. The lotus flowers are blooming really well. I Ching nodded and followed Ning Shu and a group of noble ladies to the bridge. They looked at the lotus flowers and some young masters on the other side of the river. Some young masters were reciting poems in other pavilions. With these noble ladies around, they were singing even louder. Ning Shu saw I Ching walking by the bridge and released a wave of energy on I Ching's body. I Ching was pushed into the lotus pond by Ning Shu. Plop. The surrounding people cried out in alarm. Ning Shu said, hurry up and stop those young masters. Don't let them go into the river to save people. How could a woman's reputation be tarnished just because she went into the river to save people? How could there be such a good thing? As Ning Shu spoke, he lifted his skirt and jumped into the pond. He swam towards I Ching underwater. I Ching could swim, but she was implicated by Ning Shu. The two of them were entangled in the water. Ning Shu held I Ching tightly. I Ching could not breathe in the water. Ning Shu took off the bracelet on I Ching's wrist and squeezed it hard. He wanted to destroy the bracelet. But even with Ning Shu's strength, he could not destroy it. 2333 immediately said, "Let me do it." 2333 invaded the bracelet. After a while, Ning Shu exerted more strength in his hand. As a result, the bracelet turned into powder and melted into the water. I Ching popped her head out and dragged Ning Shu to the shore. Ning Shu spat out water plants. The noble ladies around him quickly came up to ask Ning Shu how he was. Chapter 1596. The noblewoman was concerned about Ning Shu. Lian Xiao quickly covered her with clothes, pushing I Ching to the side. I Ching didn't mind. She patted the water grass and dirt off her body and found that her bracelet was missing. I Ching's heart skipped a beat. How did her bracelet disappear? I Ching looked at Ning Shu, who was spitting water. She didn't have the bracelet in her hand. Did she drop it in the pond? I Ching gritted her teeth and jumped back into the pond with a splash. The young masters who were not far from Lotus Pavilion had their eyes lit up. They didn't have the chance before, but now they had the chance to save the beauty. They rubbed their palms and wanted to go down to save her. Ning Shu spat out the moss in her mouth. When she saw the young masters who were about to save her, she hurriedly said, "Stop those men for me. Miss Yin, come up quickly." Ning Shu shouted into the water. I Ching popped her head out and took a deep breath before diving into the water. Ning Shu wanted to jump down and pull I Ching up. "Miss, you can't go down." Lian Xiao held on tightly to Ning Shu. I Ching popped her head out again and continued to look for her bracelet. That was her treasure. She couldn't lose it. Splash! A man jumped into the water and swam towards I Ching. He finally succeeded in holding I Ching in his arms. I Ching was already exhausted. She was held in Zhuoche Ran's arms and could not move. I Ching and Zhuoche Ran came ashore. Ning Shu quickly let Lian Xiao put a thin cloak on I Ching. Zhuoche Ran pushed Lian Xiao away. Lian Xiao fell to the ground and groaned in pain. Zhuoche Ran took the cloak from the servant and put it on I Ching's pale face. Zhuoche Ran looked at Ning Shu coldly. "Today, I have seen the upbringing of Marquis Xianping's residence." Ning Shu bowed to Zhuoche Ran unhurriedly. "I don't know what I did wrong to make you feel uncomfortable. Regarding what happened to Miss Yin, I feel very apologetic. So, I asked someone to stop the young master over there in advance to prevent him from plotting against you." Zhuoche Ran looked at Ning Shu. His face was like a crown jade. Water droplets rolled down from his hair and streaked across his jade-like face. He scoffed. "Ning Shu, me too. I don't know where you came from, but what you're doing is ruining Miss Yi's reputation. Saving the damsel in distress is very fun and awesome. So many people are watching. You, a man who is engaged, hugging another woman and putting your cloak on her. And it was in front of his fiancée. Is this how you treat your lover? He didn't care about the rumors about the woman he loved. You're awesome and aren't afraid of any rumors. But you're the one who let the woman fall into the trap of gossip." Ning Shu took the cloak from Lian Xiao's hands and walked over. He lifted the cloak that Zhuoche Ran had draped over I Ching and put the cloak on I Ching. I Ching reacted and suppressed the panic of losing her bracelet. She bowed to Zhuoche Ran without saying anything. Zhuoche Ran stared at Ning Shu and I Ching. Finally, he looked at I Ching and said to her, "Come here, I'll let the guards send you back. This is a place you shouldn't be." Ning Shu almost couldn't control himself from rolling his eyes. I Ching thought that she was great, but she was being roasted on the fire. The surrounding people looked at Ning Shu and I Ching differently. To a certain extent, Zhuoche Ran was using the surrounding people to coerce I Ching. It was just like a confession. You called a group of people and the surrounding people all cheered together. When you didn't like the man, you would only feel awkward and embarrassed. Especially in ancient times, a woman's reputation was regarded as the sky. Zhuoche Ran's actions were telling the surrounding people that there was an ambiguous relationship between them. "After the event, I'll let the world know that you're my woman. Aren't you domineering?" I Ching was originally annoyed to death because of losing her bracelet. Now that she was threatened by Zhuoche Ran, she was very annoyed and could not advance or retreat. Ning Shu said, "Your Highness, can you let us change our clothes?" Zhuoche Ran then noticed that the place where I Ching and Ning Shu were standing had some water accumulated. Her skirt was dripping water. Zhuoche Ran quickly waved for the maid to bring the clothes over. Ning Shu said to I Ching, "Miss Yi, come with me to change your clothes." I Ching glanced at Zhuoche Ran and followed Su Zhu. It was not so awkward. I Ching and Ning Shu nodded. Ning Shu and I Ching went to the carriage to change their clothes. I Ching was extremely depressed. She sat in the carriage in a daze. Ning Shu whispered, "Miss Yi." I Ching came back to her senses. "I have nothing to do with your fiancé." Ning Shu wiped his wet hair and said indifferently, "Yes, I know." I Ching was stunned for a moment and didn't know what to say. It was not impossible to say that she and Zhuoche Ran were absolutely clean. After all, Zhuoche Ran's feelings for her were clear. Sometimes, I Ching didn't know why Zhuoche Ran liked her. Was it because of the army in her hands? But now that the bracelet was gone, the army might not have enough supplies and bullets. I Ching's heart was in a mess. I Ching was originally a policewoman and knew how to use a gun. She had an even more powerful rocket launcher in her hands to suppress the people who tried to recruit her. There were men and women in the army. The man was not convinced and was beaten up by her. He seemed to be well behaved, but it didn't mean that he wouldn't betray her. In the past, with the jade bracelet as her backing, I Ching wasn't afraid of betrayal. But now, with worries, I Ching had a lot of thoughts in her mind. The more I Ching thought about it, the more frustrated she became. Ning Shu said, "Miss Su, I'm not feeling well. I want to go back first." Ning Shu asked, "Are you feeling unwell? Then you can go back first. Remember to get something to induce vomiting. The lotus pond is very dirty." I Ching nodded and left with her maidservant. I Ching avoided Zhuoche Ran. Ning Shu asked, "Have you absorbed it?" "Yes," 2333 said. "This thing has a lot of energy and a lot of luck. This thing is too illegal. In the future, it can also make tanks, planes, and bombs." Ning Shu was speechless. It was a completely one-sided massacre, using blood to wash those who had strange thoughts. No wonder Zhuoche Ran was known as the Emperor of 10,000 generations and had unified so many countries. It wasn't to unify them, but to make these small countries pay tribute and worship him regularly. The world must be united for a long time and divided for a long time. Just like this, he used powerful force to intimidate these people and let them have sovereignty over their land. It made people feel aggrieved and could only accept it. All of this was thanks to the weapons provided by I Ching. But now, I Ching already had an army and weapons, but it wouldn't add too much burden to the plane. Chapter 1597. The weapons that I Ching had already traded should have less of an impact on the plane. After all, without supplies, they couldn't take out large weapons. They were afraid of nuclear weapons or something. If a nuclear bomb went down, not only would there be countless deaths and injuries, but there would also be nuclear radiation. This was something that shouldn't appear in the ancient plane. With the current economic level, the common people couldn't even feed themselves. The gap between the economic level and the level of iron smelting was too big. This time, he let 2333 absorb the system so that he wouldn't whisper in his ear all day long. "You've finished absorbing the energy so quickly?" Ning Shu asked 2333. "Not yet. It will take some time. I'm slowly eating away at the other party's power. I'm actually very weak now. I have very little energy and can only barely hold on. It's impossible to get rid of this system in one go," 2333 said. Ning Shu said without sincerity, "It's okay. I used to have to sleep, but now I can still talk." 2333, "Would it kill you to not insult others?" Ning Shu tidied himself up and got out of the carriage. He saw Zhuocheran standing not far away with his hands behind his back. Zhuocheran turned to look at Ning Shu. His eyes were cold and scrutinizing. "Why did you invite Missy here?" Zhuocheran felt that Marquis Xuanping's estate's reach was really long. They actually found out about him and his relationship with I Ching. Of the noble ladies who came to the banquet today, only I Ching fell into the water. although his fiancée jumped in after that. They just wanted to distance themselves from the relationship. Ning Shu said indifferently, "There's a drought in the Hanyang area. Marquis Xuanping's estate just wants everyone to gather some money to do something for the people." Miss Yi's matter was indeed not handled well by Marquis Xuanping's estate. Marquis Xuanping's estate will give Miss Yi an explanation for this matter. Ning Shu was neither servile nor overbearing. On the other hand, Your Highness, what position do you have to question Marquis Xuanping's estate? Now, the emperor was still counting on Marquis Xuanping's estate to take the money. Zhuo Qiran sneered. "I didn't realize that you were so glib in the past." Ning Shu bowed. "Thank you for your praise, Your Highness. To be honest, everyone could tell whether someone was a good person or a bad person based on their own subjective judgment. For example, a murderer who killed someone but treated her family very well. To the victim, she was a bad person, but to her family, she was a good person." Ning Shu had seen many couples who loved each other so much and were so loyal. For example, the man in front of her. To Su Juru, Zhuo Qiran was the enemy who wanted to exterminate her family. But to Yi Qing, he was a man she could rely on. He was a man who was loyal to her and promised to be with her for the rest of her life. This was a good man. For some women, no matter how bad a man was, even if he was despised by the world, this man was good to her, loved her, and treated her sincerely. So what if he was a good or bad person? It was just that the positions they occupied were different, so the good and bad people were very vague. But these people's love stories were made by stepping on other people's corpses. The principle that Ning Shu abided by was not to drag innocent people into this. Originally, his job was to fulfill the wishes of others, and he only did things that were within the scope of the mission. Your love is very touching, but you can't drag innocent people into it. It's fine to feed them dog food, but there's no need to die for your love. To Zhuo Qiran, she and Marquis Xianping's residents were bad people and had an opposing relationship. Marquis Xianping's residence was still a bad person. How should he put it? A good person or a bad person? It all depended on his own subjective judgment and idealism. Ning Shu said, "Your Highness, if there's nothing else, I have to leave." Ning Shu turned and left. Ning Shu went to entertain the other noble ladies. Everyone chatted as if what had just happened had passed. Everyone was happy and harmonious. Ning Shu saw Zhuo Qiran leave from the corner of his eye. Ning Shu let out a sigh of relief. The matter with the system had been resolved. Next, he had to resolve the matter with Marquis Xianping's residence. After the banquet, the noble ladies who attended the banquet all expressed their gratitude. Ning Shu rubbed his shoulders and returned to Marquis Xianping's residence. The moment he returned, Madame Ronghua called Ning Shu over to teach him a lesson. Such a thing happened at the banquet, causing Marquis Xianping's residence to lose face. "I told you to interact more with the women of Prince Xian's residence. Such a thing happened at the banquet. What do you think people will think of you?" Ning Shu said without changing his expression, "Prince Xian's residence is at fault for this matter. Mother definitely knows what happened at that time. This is a signal. I think father shouldn't pin your hopes on Prince Xian's residence." Madame Ronghua frowned. "Zhuo Qiran is engaged to you. How can he do such a thing?" In the imperial court, he asked Marquis Xianping's residence to take out 5 million to deal with our family. If we don't give it to him, His Majesty will definitely be dissatisfied. This is just the beginning. Madame Ronghua rubbed her temples. I really can't figure out why he would do this. Even if it's for a miss of the Yi family, your family background, appearance, and etiquette are all comparable to the miss of the Yin family. Ning Shu didn't say anything. Or is he doing this because he wants to take miss of the Yin family as his concubine? As Madame Ronghua spoke, she also shut her mouth. Why would he want to deal with his own proper in-laws for a concubine? Madame Ronghua really couldn't figure it out. She said to Ning Shu, "You must be tired. Go back and rest." It seemed like she wanted to discuss this matter with her husband. Ning Shu bowed. "Mother, rest well." Ning Shu walked out of Madame Ronghua's courtyard. He stretched his neck and saw Gu Fanlu reading in the pavilion. Ning Shu avoided Gu Fanlu. With such an outsider in the house, it was inconvenient to do anything. She could only move out after his house was settled. This wasn't something that could be done in a day or two. How could she have the nerve to stay in someone else's house? Ning Shu suspected Gu Fanlu. He returned to the courtyard and said to Lian Xiao, "Go out and find out what Gu Fanlu is doing every day." "Why is Miss asking about young Master Biao?" Lian Xiao asked blankly. Ning Shu said faintly, "Go and find out." Lian Xiao nodded and turned to leave. Ning Shu touched his chin. He wanted to see what Gu Fanlu was doing every day. If she really had bad intentions, then he would let Gu Fanlu fall ill for a period of time. She had just arrived in the capital and was not acclimatized. It was normal for her to fall ill for a period of time. Ning Shu laughed. If Rabbit Gu was a good rabbit, she naturally wouldn't go and deal with rabbits for no reason. This kind of talent who was white on the outside but black on the inside was too similar to Zhuocharen's people. Ning Shu sat cross-legged on the bed and began to cultivate. With martial arts, even if he couldn't control the development of the situation in the end, he could save more people and protect himself. Chapter 1598. No matter what, power was a powerful guarantee. The strong not only had wisdom but also power. In fact, the power that Ning Shu held in high esteem was absolute power. Lian Xiao was back. When Ning Shu heard the footsteps, she stopped practicing. Lian Xiao pushed open the door. Ning Shu bowed and said, "Miss, I have inquired a little. I was chatting with Xiao Qing, the servant serving young master now. She said that young master did not do much. If he was not reading and practicing calligraphy, he would be admiring the scenery of Marquis Xianping's residence." "Miss, I am not boasting, but the scenery of our Marquis Xianping's residence is the best among the aristocratic families. Even young master admires it." Ning Shu touched his chin. Marquis Xianping's residence was huge. The rockery and garden were exquisite. It was built with money. What was Gu Fanlu doing all day? Young Master Biao is really talented. Even little Qing wants to follow young Master Biao and serve him. Now that young master has entered the capital and is seeking an official position, his future is limitless. Lian Xiao was still chattering. Ning Shu listened quietly. He was thinking that he would have to feed the mosquitoes at night. There were many people in Marquis Xianping's residence, but they were all servants who had served Marquis Xianping for generations. If one were to perish, the other would perish. Although there was no guarantee that there would be people who would take the risk, most people were still clear-headed. An outsider like Gu Fanlu came. Soon, Marquis Xianping's residence would be destroyed. At that time, it would be a mess. No one knew what happened to Gu Fanlu, especially when Gu Fanlu had moved out of Marquis Xianping's residence before the incident. Ning Shu did not want to suspect Gu Fanlu, but Ning Shu's analysis pointed to Gu Fanlu everywhere. Bold guesses, careful verification. Ning Shu believed that the letter of treason was written by Gu Fanlu. The ancestral hall filled with gold was also discovered by Gu Fanlu and told Zhuochun. "Miss, do you think young master will take Xiao Qing with him when he leaves?" The woman's eyes lit up as she gossiped. Ning Shu said with certainty, "No, definitely not." Taking away other people's maidservants was not good for one's reputation. It was not like he could not afford a maidservant, so he would not do such a thing to embarrass the master. Lian Xiao curled her lips. Little Qing's tail is about to stick up. She can't wait to leave with young Master Biao, but in the end, young Master Biao doesn't want her at all. Ning Shu pursed his lips and purposely teased Lian Xiao. That might not be the case. If cousin really likes Xiao Qing, he might tell old madam that he doesn't have a maid to serve him in his new house. Old madam would definitely be willing to send a maid and a few servants over. Lian Xiao opened her mouth. "Miss, is that possible or not?" "Impossible." If Gu Fanlu wanted to draw a clear line with Marquis Xianpingho, she would not have opened her mouth. Instantly, Lian Xiao laughed in schadenfreude, looking very smug. "You two have a grudge?" Ning Shu couldn't help but ask when he saw Lian Xiao's expression. "In the past, I lived in the same house as Little Qing. Little Qing's hands and feet were a little dirty." Ning Shu did not say anything and let Lien Xiao go down to prepare dinner. After a day of torment, he was famished, especially after drinking a stomach full of pond water. Lien Xiao carried a light meal into the house. After Ning Shu finished his meal, he let Lien Xiao serve him to sleep. Once Lien Xiao left, Ning Shu sat cross-legged and started to cultivate. In the middle of the night, Ning Shu rushed to Gu Fanlu's room. Gu Fanlu had already gone to bed. Ning Shu gently pushed open the window and entered the room quietly. Gu Fanlu's breathing was very shallow. Ning Shu suspected that she was not asleep again. Ning Shu went to the table where Gu Fanlu was reading and searched everywhere for Gu Fanlu's handwriting. Ning Shu wanted to know Gu Fanlu's handwriting. The letter of treason was not written by Marquis Xian Pingho. At that time, Marquis Xian Pingho was also very confused. Although Marquis Xian Ping had money, he did not have any soldiers. If he rebelled, he would just change someone to exploit Marquis Xian Ping. Only someone with acid in their brain would do such a thing. At the foot of the imperial city, recruiting soldiers and buying horses would die even faster. Ning Shu could not light a lamp and Gu Fanlu was sleeping beside him. Ning Shu could only rely on his own eyesight. Ning Shu looked around but could not find the waste paper of Gu Fanlu's handwriting practice. Didn't they say that Gu Fanlu was either reading or practicing his handwriting every day? Why couldn't he see Gu Fanlu's handwriting? Ning Shu squinted his eyes, almost going blind. He flipped through Gu Fanlu's book. His book had handwriting. Ning Shu had seen Marquis Xian Ping's handwriting before. It was different from Gu Fanlu's. However, he could not rule out the possibility that Gu Fanlu did not imitate Marquis Xian Ping's handwriting. Otherwise, why would Gu Fanlu's handwriting practice be gone? He suddenly laughed to death. Why couldn't he find it? Gu Fanlu must have destroyed it. Ning Shu heard the sound of Gu Fanlu turning over and then jumping out of the room. Ning Shu jumped over the courtyard wall and went out of Marquis Xian Ping's house towards the Lotus Pavilion. Taking advantage of the night, he touched the Lotus Pavilion. I Ching had lost her bracelet here and would definitely come back to look for it. Ning Shu heard movement in the water. Someone was carrying a lamp by the riverbank. There were many people looking for something in the water. From time to time, someone would pop up to take a breath and then dive into the water to continue looking for something. These should be Zhuoche Ran's men. Ning Shu released his spiritual force and saw Zhuoche Ran sitting in the pavilion, waiting for his subordinates to find something. Zhuoche Ran had no choice but to look for something in the middle of the night. I Ching lost something and was a little flustered. It was just a bracelet. Zhuoche Ran could send dozens or hundreds of them to I Ching. But I Ching insisted on this lost bracelet. He could only use this method, which was not a method, to search around in the water. Until now, there was no news at all. Zhuoche Ran's face was ugly as he drank tea. Shitzi, do you want to drain the water here? It will be much easier to find. The people around him gave Zhuoche Ran an idea. Zhuoche Ran rubbed his eyebrows. I don't care what you think of, just find the bracelet. A man could do such a thing for a woman. No wonder I Ching was willing to assist Zhuoche Ran in the end. Ning Shu laughed in his heart. Keep looking. The bracelet had already turned into slag. I feel that there is someone around. Zhuoche Ran felt that he was being stared at. The longer he stayed, the more obvious this feeling became. Ning Shu did not expect Zhuoche Ran to be so sharp. He withdrew his spiritual force and quickly retreated. There must be someone. Zhuoche Ran's face was cold. The guards around him immediately hid in the darkness. Ning Shu originally wanted to find I Ching, but I Ching must be protected by Zhuoche Ran's people. And I Ching herself had a gun. Ning Shu ran quickly and ran back to Marquis Xian Ping's residence. Ning Shu lay on the bed. Although the system was solved, there were still many guns in this plane. People were flesh and blood. No one could resist the attack of guns and shells. Chapter 1599. Unless these guns and advanced weapons became a pile of scrap metal. The premise was that there were no supplies. Now that there was no system, there was no guarantee that there were no bullets stored. A gun without bullets was a piece of scrap metal. It was not that big of a threat. Bows and crossbows were also weapons of the era with great lethality, but compared to guns, they were really too far behind. But she did not know where Yi Qing's army was. Ning Shu was worried that Yi Qing and Zhuo Qiran would suspect her. On a moonless and windy night, it would be hard to find survivors if they came with an army and fired at Marquis Xianping's residence. Ning Shu really had a headache. The next morning, when Ning Shu was having breakfast, she said to Lian Qiao, "Go provoke Shao Qing and get Gu Fanlu's handwriting. Just say that young Master Du Biao's handwriting is very ugly. You should know what to do next, right?" Ning Shu said. Lian Qiao nodded. "Miss, I understand." After breakfast, Lian Qiao cleared the dishes and chopsticks on the table. Ning Shu said, "Miss, I'll go now. I don't know if Shao Qing will be provoked. Just do your best. If not, then forget it." Even if there was no conclusive evidence, Ning Shu would let Gu Fanlu be weak for a few days. When the matter was settled, if Gu Fanlu was not suspected, Gu Fanlu would be alive and kicking. Lian Qiao went to argue with Shao Qing. Ning Shu took the food box and went to find Marquis Xianping. Marquis Xianping's manservant said that Marquis Xianping was in Madame Rongwa's courtyard. Ning Shu did not want to join in the fun when the husband and wife were together. After Marquis Xianping returned to the study, Ning Shu went to find Madame Rongwa. When Madame Rongwa saw Ning Shu, she asked someone to prepare a bowl of iced sour plum soup for Ning Shu. It must be hot on the way here. It was the unbearably hot summer now. Ning Shu took the iced sour plum soup and took a sip. It was sour and cold, and could only be described as refreshing. "Don't drink too much. Cold things are not good for women." Madame Rongwa rolled her eyes at Ning Shu. Ning Shu finished the bowl of iced sour plum soup and asked Mrs. Rongwa, "Mother, is father going to take out 5 million yuan?" Madame Rongwa sighed. "Your father brought up this matter after court. Your father was unwilling. 5 million is not a small sum. Our Marquis Xuanping's estate can pool together and pay, but what will we do in the future?" Madame Rongwa looked at Ning Shu. "I'm more worried about you now. You haven't even married him, and Prince Xian has already done such a thing. The two surnames are good because they combine two families." Madame Rongwa wanted to say something but hesitated. They hadn't even gotten married yet and he was already adding insult to injury. This showed that Zhuo Qiran didn't take his daughter seriously at all. It could be said that Ning Shu was now being roasted on the fire. If she married him, it was obvious that the two families would not be able to support each other. Ning Shu was an abandoned child, but if she didn't marry him, her reputation would be tarnished. Ning Shu cursed in his heart. Ning Shu changed the topic and said, "The weather is extremely hot now. The Hanyang region is dry and many people have died. It's easy for a plague to occur. When the time comes and the disaster can't be controlled, the entire court will blame father. That's a problem." Madame Rongwa was melancholic. "I'll tell your father. Your father has already transferred money from various shops. Your father is just complaining. It's impossible for him not to pay," Madame Rongwa said. Ning Shu nodded. No one in the imperial court was stupid. It was impossible for Marquis Xianping not to pay. Firstly, he didn't dare to anger the emperor and bear the consequences. Secondly, if something really happened, all the negative emotions would be directed at Marquis Xianping and the Marquis Xuanping's estate. According to the usual practice, it should be your family who pays. If you don't pay now, do you know how serious the consequences are? Mother, tell father that not only do we have to pay, we have to do it quickly. If we drag it out, the emperor won't be happy, Ning Shu's Madame Rongwa said. Madame Rongwa held Ning Shu's hand. You didn't care about these things in the past. Why are you worried about them now? Ning Shu smiled. Mother, it's better to know something than nothing. I was born in the Marquis Xuanping's estate, so I naturally prioritize Marquis Xuanping's safety and interests. Madame Rongwa touched Ning Shu's face. But what will you do in the future? Madame Rongwa had a negative attitude towards the marriage between the two families. The two families might not be able to get together. Ning Shu smiled. As long as the Marquis Xuanping's estate is there, I will have roots and live well. Mother, don't worry. No matter how bad it was, It was better than being a prostitute in the Marquis Schwamping's estate. I'll urge your father again. You can go back. Madame Rongwa Ning Shu said. Ning Shu nodded. Mother, I want to go out later. If there's anything you need to do, just let the servants do it. I just want to go out for a walk and buy some rouge and face powder. The weather is hot. Come back early. Thank you, Mother. Ning Shu returned to her courtyard. Lian Xiao had already returned. Ning Shu saw Lian Xiao's expression like a cat that had stolen fish. You got the thing? Ning Shu sat down and slowly poured a cup of tea. Lian Xiao took out a piece of paper. Miss, that Xiao Qing really can't stand being provoked. This servant said that Xiao Qing couldn't even get close to young master before she exploded. Ning Shu put down the teacup and took the paper. She unfolded it and looked at it. The handwriting on the paper was steady and dignified, giving off a sense of conformity. This was Marquis Schwamping's handwriting. On the other hand, Gu Fanlu's handwriting was graceful and meaningful, flowing naturally. The two of them had different feelings. Gu Fanlu was indeed imitating Marquis Schwamping's handwriting. Ning Shu kept the paper in a box. This was a piece of evidence. Take this. Ning Shu took out a twisted silver bracelet from the box and gave it to Lian Xiao. Miss, this is too precious. Lian Xiao waved her hands. Ning Shu took her hand and put it on her wrist. You are the personal maid of Marquis Schwamping's legitimate daughter. It's not out of place to have such a bracelet. Ning Shu felt that Lian Xiao was still quite loyal. Thank you, Mississippi. Go prepare a sedan chair. I plan to go out. Ning Shu went out with Lian Xiao. They strolled around and bought rouge and face powder. They also went to the pharmacy to get some medicine for relieving the heat. After that, they returned to Marquis Schwamping's residence. When they returned, Ning Shu began to prepare the medicine. Gu Fanlu was definitely Zhuo Kairen's woman. So what if she was his grandaunt? Her meager bloodline had to take a step back in some matters. Ning Shu ground the medicine and kept it in a small bottle. In the middle of the night, Ning Shu snuck into Gu Fanlu's room and put the medicine in the teapot. He shook it twice and then stood guard outside, waiting for Gu Fanlu to wake up in the middle of the night to drink water. Ning Shu fed the mosquitoes outside. After Gu Fanlu drank the water, Ning Shu slipped into the room and poured the rest of the water away. There was medicine in the teapot. Leaving it here would give others a handle. Gu Fanlu was not a stupid person. Ning Shu liked to do things secretly. After finishing these things, Ning Shu returned to his courtyard to rest. Every day is a night owl's life. My heart is bitter. Chapter 1600. The next day, Gu Fanlu fell ill. She had a fever and vomited as if she had a heat stroke. In short, old Madame hurriedly invited a famous physician to treat Gu Fanlu's illness. Gu Fanlu could only stay in her room. She was weak and feeble. Both her ears drooped. Ning Shu was relieved. Gu Fanlu had contributed to the extermination of Marquis Schwamping's residence. Gu Fanlu was Zhuoche Rant's vanguard. Miss, there is a visiting card. Lian Xiao took the visiting card. Ning Shu took the visiting card. It was I Ching. Ning Shu nodded. Bring her to the reception pavilion. I will receive her there. When Ning Shu reached the reception pavilion, I Ching was already there. She looked a little haggard. When she saw Ning Shu, she quickly bowed. Ning Shu returned the greeting and asked, Miss Yin, is there anything I can help you with? I am here because of the incident at Lotus Pavilion. I am here to thank you for the trouble. When I Ching spoke, she kept observing Ning Shu's face. I Ching was a police officer. She had studied the micro-expressions of criminals. Zhuoche Ran did not find the bracelet in the lotus pond. I Ching suspected that the girl in front of her had taken her things. Ning Shu smiled sweetly. She put down the teacup and said in a light tone, It's okay. It was an accident. No one wanted it to happen. I Ching felt that it was not an accident because she felt that someone had pushed her into the water. There were so many people on the bridge at that time. She did not know who to suspect. I Ching took the gift box from the servant girl. This is my thank you gift. Ning Shu smiled and let Lian Xiao accept the gift. She said to I Ching, "Thank you." I Ching wanted to touch the bracelet on her wrist. In the end, she touched nothing. Her heart was sad. Ning Shu pursed her lips. She thought for a while and asked I Ching, "Can I ask about your relationship with Shitzi?" I Ching subconsciously retorted, "Miss Su, I have nothing to do with Shuache." "Shitzi." Ning Shu's expression dimmed. "I could feel it from the Lotus Pavilion. His Highness cares a lot about you." I Ching sighed in her heart. "Miss Su, there's really no such thing." Ning Shu took a deep breath. "Actually, I also know that it's impossible for a man to only have one woman. I've long been aware of this." I Ching didn't know whether to laugh or cry in her heart. Could it be that this Miss Su agreed to share a husband with her? Even if Miss Su was willing, she wouldn't. I Ching didn't know what to do now. She couldn't advance or retreat. Shuache Ran obviously would not let her go. The army in her hands would be exposed sooner or later. I Ching was afraid that Shuache Ran would get the army in her hands, and then she wouldn't be able to live. I Ching was a police officer and had dealt with many criminals before. She had shown some mercy to people. Without supplies, she didn't even have a trump card. After getting the bracelet, he hadn't even been happy for a while before the bracelet disappeared. Without the bracelet, I Ching was a little uneasy. If you were to rely on something and suddenly lose it, you would be terrified. Ning Shu forced a smile. "The Crown Prince likes you. You're quite lucky." I Ching was really helpless. Seeing Miss Su like this, the bracelet probably wasn't in her hands. Then where was her bracelet? Now Shuache Ran was pressing on. A strong woman was afraid of a pestering man. I Ching felt that her situation was getting more and more dangerous. Her father was just a small official, while Shuache Ran was the crown prince, the emperor's favorite nephew. His father was Prince Exin. I Ching was worried that the army and weapons in her hands could be a life-saving talisman or a life-threatening talisman. Shuache Ran wasn't a simple man. He was a dragon among men. Just by looking at the secret guards he sent to protect her, she knew that Shuache Ran was a man with ambition in his heart. I Ching felt a headache just thinking about it. Ning Shu let Lian Xiao serve the pastries. "This is mung bean cake. It's good to eat it on this kind of day." "Thank you." I Ching just ate a piece symbolically. Ning Shu saw that I Ching's face was full of worry and asked, "What's troubling Missy?" I Ching shook her head. "Nothing." She wanted to explain that she had nothing to do with Shuache Ran and let Miss Su take good care of Shuache Ran. But thinking of the women in this era, they all treated their husbands like gods. How could they manage a crown prince? I Ching and Ning Shu chatted for a while and then took their leave. Ning Shu drank the sour plum soup and waited for Lian Xiao to come back. He asked, "Did Miss Yin say anything to you?" Lian Xiao shook her head and asked blankly, "Did Miss Yin want to say anything to me?" To be honest, this kind of daughter of a small official was not worthy of Lian Xiao's servile attitude. Ning Shu felt that I Ching had something to say, but he gave up in the end. Ning Shu had seen many protagonists. They were either naive and sweet, or they were conceited and arrogant. Protagonists like I Ching who could judge the situation and seize the moment were rare. Maybe it was because she was a policeman before she transmigrated, someone who dealt with criminals. Ning Shu drank another mouthful of the sour plum soup. "How is my cousin now?" Lian Xiao pouted. "Xiao Qing, that wretched girl, is lucky. Young master is sick and she has to serve him every day. She really made her presence known." "He doesn't practice calligraphy now?" Ning Shu asked. "Young master is feeling unwell now. He doesn't have time to practice calligraphy," Lian Xiao said. Ning Shu narrowed his eyes and went to look for Madame Ronghua. Madame Ronghua put down the embroidery in her hands. Ning Shu took a look. It was embroidered with green bamboo, probably for Marquis Xianping. "How's the talk with Miss Yin?" Madame Ronghua asked. Ning Shu was not surprised. The matters of the inner house were all in the hands of Madame Ronghua. "It's not that great." Ning Shu sat down and said directly, "Let's not talk about Miss Yin. Mother, did father pay?" Ning Shu asked Madame Ronghua. Madame Ronghua nodded. He paid 3,020,000 dan of grain. Your father almost cried in the court. Ning Shu did not believe that he cried, but he had to act out such an effect. Madame Rongua looked at Ning Shu. You little girl, if you were a man, you wouldn't be trapped in the inner house and hope to be in harmony with your husband. You would not be jealous, and you would be generous and decent. We women don't know what we want in this life. Getting married and having children, all women go through this. Do you understand what I'm saying? Ning Shu nodded. Mother, I understand. As a woman, I should not have any improper thoughts. I should know how to be satisfied because all women go through this. Madame Rongua nodded. Yes, because this way you won't have a hard life. A maverick will always be attacked. There's a simple path to take, don't take the difficult and complicated path. I know it's because of the air. Ning Shu pursed her lips and smiled at Madame Rongua. Mother, I understand. Ning Shu once again rejoiced that she had become a task enforcer and jumped out of the shackles. Although it was difficult, this was a world where the strong were respected. There was only strength and no gender. Chapter 1601. Usually, Ning Shu was very low-key in the mansion. He would do everything secretly at night. Please search to see the most complete, the fastest to update. Ning Shu gave the little beggar some food and asked him to keep an eye on the Yin family. The last time I Ching came to visit, Ning Shu always felt that I Ching had something to tell him. She probably had some concerns. Speaking of which, she and I Ching were on opposite sides. Zhuoche Ran was a member of the royal family. If he wanted to treat a woman well, if he wanted a woman, there was basically no woman in the world who could oppose him. Gu Fanlu was sick. When he got a little better, Ning Shu went to his room and wandered around. The next day, Gu Fanlu fell seriously ill again. Old Madam invited several doctors to take turns to treat Gu Fanlu. She was afraid that her sister's grandson would die in Marquis Xianping's fu. Even if the sick Gu Fanlu's mind was muddled, she could still guess some things. She was still lying on the bed when she told Old Madam that she wanted to move out. How could Old Madam let Gu Fanlu go out to recuperate alone? She insisted on making Gu Fanlu stay. Gu Fanlu's face turned pale. Stay my ass. Gu Fanlu knew that she had been tricked. This time she made him sick. Next time she might make him die. This was most likely done by Marquis Xianping. Gu Fanlu insisted on leaving, saying that she was so seriously ill that it might be an epidemic. It would not be good to infect the people of Marquis Xianping's manor. The old madam had no choice but to send a few people to serve Gu Fanlu. Gu Fanlu was carried out of Marquis Xianping's residence. Ning Shu stood in the pavilion and watched Gu Fanlu leave from afar. Little Qing really went with them. What good luck! Lian Xiao stomped her feet and curled her lips. She's there to serve someone, not to be his pillow. Why are you so agitated? Ning Shu said indifferently. Most likely, Lian Xiao had suffered in the hands of Shao Qing in the past, so she would seize the opportunity to mock and ridicule Shao Qing. Ning Shu turned to look for Old Madam. Ning Shu bowed. Granddaughter greets grandmother. Zhuru, come to grandmother. Dowager Duchess Ning Shu beckoned. Ning Shu walked over and asked Old Madam with a smile, Cousin is so sick. How can we send him away? What will Grandaunt think? Cousin, even if you want to leave, you have to wait until you're seriously ill. Ning Shu said as he massaged the Dowager Duchess's shoulders. Being pressed by Ning Shu like this, the old madam felt very comfortable. She squinted her eyes and said, Fan Lu insisted on leaving. She said that she was afraid of passing the disease to us. Ning Shu said softly, Cousin doesn't want to implicate us, but we can't think that way. Great aunt must have a grudge against grandmother. Grandmother also doesn't want others to say that our Marquis Xianping's residence is harsh and merciless, throwing people out when we see them sick. The Dowager Duchess was so comfortable that she was about to fall asleep. When she heard Ning Shu's words, she said, It's indeed not very appropriate. Cousin said that he was afraid of passing the disease, but the people who serve him are not sick. This means that Cousin doesn't have the disease. Grandmother, is it comfortable? It's really what granddaughter learned from medicine. It can promote blood circulation, remove blood stasis, and relieve fatigue. Ning Shu changed the topic. It's very comfortable. Juru is still filial. In the future, when you have nothing to do, come and give grandmother a massage. Ning Shu's voice was light as he agreed. The Dowager Duchess was old and went to take an afternoon nap. After that, the sick Gu Fanlu was carried back to Marquis Xianping's residence. No matter how much Gu Fanlu didn't want to come back, her delicate body was still weak. She was carried back to Marquis Xianping's residence. Ning Shu stood in the pavilion and looked at the weak Gu Fanlu. Ning Shu didn't go near Gu Fanlu. There was no need to flaunt his prowess and make Gu Fanlu suspicious. If Gu Fanlu was suspicious, it would arouse Zhuo Kairan's suspicion. She was just an ordinary girl in the inner courtyard. She didn't step out of the house and only embroidered. Miss, young master doesn't find it troublesome to go back and forth like this. When will the illness be cured? Lian Xiao was a straightforward girl. She asked whatever was on her mind. Ning Shu said, just walk around and breathe in the fresh air. Then the illness will be cured. Lian Xiao's face was full of question marks. Ning Shu returned to his courtyard and picked up the embroidery to embroider the word longevity. After a while, it would be the Dowager Duchess's 60th birthday. Miss, Sister Cui, who serves Madam, came over. She said that Madam has something to discuss with you. Ning Shu put down the embroidery and moved his neck. He asked, did Cui say anything? The Marquis is also here. Ning Shu tidied up and followed Cui to Madame Rongwa's courtyard. Ning Shu entered the room and felt that the atmosphere was very tense. Marquis Xianping's face was dark as he drank tea. Madame Rongwa looked helpless. Ning Shu bowed. Father, what happened? Madame Rongwa couldn't help but sigh. She looked at Ning Shu with eyes full of love and helplessness. Marquis Xianping put the teacup on the table and said directly, the marriage between Marquis Xianping and Prince Exen can't go through. Ning Shu's expression didn't change. Your daughter will listen to father. Marquis Xianping's expression became slightly better. Aren't you going to ask father why? No matter what father does, it is for the sake of the Marquis Xianping's residence, Ning Shu said. From today onwards, you will be infected with a serious illness. When the time comes, father will cancel this marriage. Madame Rongwa spoke. Marquis, why must you be infected with a serious illness? This is too unfair to Juru. Who will dare to marry Juru in the future? Why not find an enlightened monk and say that their 8 characters are not compatible? Back then, when our 8 characters were matched, it was said to be a heaven-sent match. Now, you say that our 8 characters are not compatible. Do you think others are stupid? How should I explain this to His Majesty? Marquis Xianping's residence had a headache. He really couldn't figure out how he had offended Zhuo Chairan to the point that he wouldn't let him go. It wasn't easy for him to gather 3 million taels and 20,000 dan of grain. In the end, Zhuo Chairan was still not satisfied and told His Majesty that the disaster in Hanyang was too serious and there was already a riot. This bit of money was not enough. Zhuo Chairan had always been liked by His Majesty and he agreed with Zhuo Chairan's words. He also felt that this bit of money was a bit too little. Marquis Xianping really wanted to curse. Marquis Xianping didn't want to marry his daughter over now. Of course, the one who would suffer was still his daughter, regardless of whether she was married or not. Madame Rongwa's heart ached for her daughter. This was the legitimate daughter of Marquis Xianping's residence. She had been raised well, learned poetry, followed rules and etiquette. Her daughter, who had been raised with great difficulty, was ruined just like that. Not to mention that this was trampling on Marquis Xianping's residence's face, not to mention that this was her own daughter. What do you think? Marquis Xianping felt a little guilty when he saw that Ning Shu didn't make a fuss or cry. Ning Shu bowed. Daughter will listen to father. Father doesn't want daughter to marry into Prince Xian's residence because he loves daughter dearly. Daughter understands this in her heart. Marrying into Prince Xian's residence would be a disaster. Marquis Xianping's residence would be destroyed. Su Juru would be circling around in the mountains of romance, singing decadent songs of romance. Her heart was already riddled with holes and was incomparably vicissitudes of life. She had originally thought that. Chapter 1602. Marquis Xianping did not force her to marry him because he felt sorry for her. Actually, it was just a daughter. It did not matter if she married him. At most, he would sacrifice a daughter. Firstly, he felt sorry for his daughter. Secondly, he could not vent his anger by marrying his daughter to someone who was so against him. Although he would rather let his daughter get infected with a bad disease and sacrifice her life than marry the daughter of the Marquis of Xianping to someone else. The Marquis of Xianping was not so despicable. Prince Xian's residence is too much. Marquis Xianping was so angry that he could die. He gave them money but did not get a good word from them. Father, I am in the backyard and do not understand what happened. Why is His Highness so against you? Ningshu asked curiously. But father, what is the difference between your political views and Prince Xian's? Marquis Xianping took a sip of tea and glanced at Ningshu. When I go to court, I am so sleepy that I want to sleep. Ningshu understood immediately. Marquis Xianping did not participate in such matters. He just wanted to earn money and be the royal family's money bag. This was the way to survive in the Marquis of Xianping's residence. Ningshu took out a piece of paper from his long sleeve and said, Father, take a look. Marquis Xianping took it and looked at it. Why are you collecting my handwriting? Father, take a closer look. Marquis Xianping looked carefully. Where did you find it? Cousin seems to admire father and is imitating father's handwriting. Marquis Xianping's expression changed. Could it be that he is plotting against the Su family's property? Ningshu was speechless. Father, it's not just about the Su family's business. If you want to do something else, all right, don't go out so often in the future and recuperate well. Ningshu waved his hand. Ningshu bowed. Madame Rongwa looked at Ningshu worriedly. Ningshu smiled at her comfortably. She and Zhuocheran did not have a good ending. Now, the entire Marquis of Xianping's residence was standing behind her. No matter what, it was better than being in the past, swaying in the wind and rain without any roots. Lian Xiao looked at Ningshu with teary eyes. Ningshu smiled indifferently. She was not pitiful at all. Furthermore, she would not argue with Marquis Xianping's estate and say that she did not care about her happiness. Don't act like this in the future, Ningshu said with a smile. Young miss, you can still laugh? Really, what will others think of you in the future? Ningshu didn't care. With so many mouths, he couldn't control them at all. Therefore, he could only deceive himself and not hear anything. If you want to say it, then say it. Spirit is very important. After that, Marquis Xianping used the excuse that his daughter had contracted a serious illness and that Prince Xian Manor and Marquis Xianping Manor were not suitable to be in-laws to cancel the engagement. Both parties wanted to break off the engagement. His Majesty felt that he could not let his nephew marry a sickly woman. The annulment of the engagement was unexpectedly smooth, and both parties cancelled the marriage contract. After that, Ningshu became the laughingstock of the capital. Everyone said that she didn't have the good fortune to become the heir's wife. Even the servants of the Marquis Xianping estate looked at Ningshu strangely. When such a thing happened, it was a woman's reputation that was damaged. Ningshu was incomparably calm. When she had nothing to do, she would go and massage old madam's body. Rongwa Foreign would always send good things to her room. With great fanfare, it was obvious that she wanted to support Ningshu. Now that there was no one blocking Zhuocheran's path, he didn't know if Zhuocheran would still take action against Marquis Xianping. Ningshu was a little uncertain about Zhuocheran's style of doing things. Sometimes he would cut the weeds and eliminate the roots, and sometimes he would not overdo it. Ningshu turned a blind eye to the surrounding gazes. She did what she should do. Contracting a serious illness was just an excuse. Ningshu was not angry, but Lian Xiao was as angry as a toad all day long. Her stomach was full of anger. Once she heard something, she would be so angry that she wanted to explode on the spot. Young miss, you can still embroider. Do you know what those people are saying? Lian Xiao wished she could snatch the needle and thread from Ning Shu's hands. Ning Shu said calmly, "If you are angry, they won't say anything. All right, there is nothing to be angry about." "Young miss, are you going to become a monk?" Lian Xiao looked at Ning Shu and asked, "Young miss, are you disheartened?" "Ning Shu, your young miss's heart is burning. I love life, I love life." Lian Xiao wanted to say something, but it was a little quiet outside the courtyard. Lian Xiao hurried out. "Young miss, the gatekeeper said that there are beggars coming from the back door." Lian Xiao said. Ning Shu nodded. "Get some buns for those beggars. Go and ask them what happened." It was not strange for beggars to come to Marquis Xianping's residence. Everyone knew that Marquis Xianping's residence was rich and imposing. Sometimes they could ask for some food. Ning Shu picked up the needle and thread and continued to embroider the word longevity. Not long after, Lian Xiao came back. Ning Shu said, "Young miss, His Highness the Crown Prince has swaggered to the Yin residence. Now everyone knows that Zhuocheran likes Miss Yin." He said that he broke off the engagement because of Miss Yin. Lian Xiao looked at Ning Shu's calm face and stomped her foot. "Young Mississippi." Lian Xiao was exasperated that Lian Xiao did not live up to her expectations. Ning Shu said helplessly, "Then what do you want me to do? I have nothing to do with the Crown Prince of Prince Xen anymore. Whatever I do, it will only be a joke. Some people are just waiting to watch the show." It really makes one feel aggrieved. Lian Xiao hammered her chest. "Young miss should teach Miss Yin a lesson." "So what if I teach her a lesson?" If she wanted to teach her a lesson, she would teach Zhuocheran a lesson. If she killed one woman, Zhuocheran would still have other women. Women were as numerous as chives, coming in batches. Even if Zhuocheran had promised to be with I Ching for life, it did not mean that Zhuocheran would fancy other women. In Lian Xiao's heart, she really wished that she could chew I Ching alive. Lian Xiao was after all a teenage girl. Encountering such a situation, she was furious. Ning Shu shook her head. What was there to be angry about? Ning Shu put down her embroidery and went to greet Madame Ronghua. Madame Ronghua felt guilty towards Ning Shu. She kept all the good things in Ning Shu's arms. "How are you feeling today?" Madame Ronghua asked Ning Shu. Ning Shu smiled and said, "My daughter's face is like a peach blossom. You are so beautiful. Of course, my health is good." Loquacious. Madame Ronghua glanced at Ning Shu. "Did father tell you about the imperial court? Is Prince Xian's residence still targeting father?" Ning Shu asked. Madame Ronghua thought for a while and said, "I did not hear your father mention this. However, he donated another 1 million taels of silver, saying that Hanyang is in turmoil." Ning Shu understood. Zhuocheran still did not give up on targeting Marquis Xuanping's residence. Perhaps Marquis Xuanping's money was too eye-catching. Money could make the devil turn millstones. Some rioters directly rushed into the county yamen and injured many people. This military expenditure made your father unable to sleep well for a few nights. Madame Ronghua sighed. Ning Shu thought for a while and said, "Mother, Marquis Xuanping's business is too big. Eating meat together was the right thing to do." That was how helpless it was. His Majesty was definitely dissatisfied with this small amount of money and wanted to get a share of the Su family's business. Chapter 1603. Zhuocheran was His Majesty's beloved nephew, so he definitely knew about His Majesty's intentions. Many factors made Zhuocheran speak up for His Majesty. "Zhu Ru, this is a matter of the imperial court. Don't ask about it." Madame Ronghua said. "Yes." Ning Shu also wanted to find out if Zhuocheran would be leading the army to suppress the riot this time. It was not good for girls to ask about these things. In the middle of the night, Ning Shu changed her clothes and went to the Yin family. She needed to observe I Ching and see if I Ching had already opened her heart to Zhuocheran. From Ning Shu's initial impression of I Ching was a woman who knew how to scheme. In the plot, the army was in her hands. And Zhuocheran seemed to trust her completely. In order to repay Zhuocheran, I Ching provided weapons and built an army for Zhuocheran, which became the important weapon of the country and a divine weapon to intimidate small countries. It was enough to love someone, and the remaining 30% loved him. I Ching had a backup plan to protect him, which meant that I Ching was a woman with a clear mind. Ning Shu approached the Yin family and released her spiritual power to check if there were any secret guards guarding the Yin family. There were secret guards guarding several places, probably to protect I Ching. There were two sides to everything. It could be said to be protection, but it could also be said to be surveillance. I Ching was probably unhappy. If I Ching refused, Zhuo Qiran would only force her to accept it. The overbearing prince's courtship was so good and overbearing. With the help of her spiritual power, Ning Shu avoided the secret guards and arrived not far from I Ching's courtyard. There were more people guarding I Ching's courtyard, so Ning Shu could only release her spiritual power to check. I Ching was already asleep. Her hand under the blanket was holding the pistol. Her eyelashes were trembling. Obviously, she was not sleeping soundly. I Ching was on guard against someone. Ning Shu thought for a moment and knew that the overbearing prince broke into her room in the middle of the night, flirted with her, and took advantage of her. Some women liked this and some didn't. Ning Shu couldn't imagine that such a thing would happen in ancient times, where a woman's reputation was regarded as heaven. If someone found out, it would be a fatal blow to a woman. Meeting her lover at night, tsk. I Ching didn't seem to buy it. Ning Shu heard the sound of the window opening. Someone had entered I Ching's room. I Ching grabbed the gun and pointed it at Zhuo Qiran. Zhuo Qiran held the gun, his expression unchanged. "It's me." Zhuo Qiran didn't know enough about guns to be able to hold the barrels so calmly. I Ching was furious. The other party wasn't afraid of guns, but she didn't dare to shoot. If she killed a crown prince, the entire Yin family wouldn't be enough to pay for it. There was nothing they could do about the oppression of power. "Look at how angry you are." Zhuo Qiran was also somewhat helpless. "In 2 days I'll be going to Hanyang to suppress the riot. I'm already leaving, yet you're still so aggressive." I Ching's expression relaxed. "Then I wish you success." Zhuo Qiran squeezed onto the bed. I Ching wanted to push him away, but Zhuo Qiran grabbed her hand. "Imperial uncle only gave me 800 troops. I don't even know if I can come back." I Ching frowned and didn't say anything. Zhuo Qiran looked at I Ching with gentle and lingering eyes. "When I come back, I'll ask for your father's hand in marriage. I'll treat you well and promise you that you'll only have one person for the rest of your life." I Ching felt bitter in her heart. She looked at Zhuo Qiran, who was holding her. He was really charming and outstanding, making people's hearts beat. Especially when he said such words, it made people dazzled. To be able to have such a husband, it was a blessing from her previous life. I Ching didn't understand in her heart whether Zhuo Qiran really liked her or the thing in her hands. Or the person and thing he wanted. People who fell in love were always paranoid. I Ching thought for a moment and put the gun in her hand in Zhuo Qiran's hand. "Take this to protect yourself." "What is this?" "I see that you're carrying it. It's quite heavy. It's made of iron. It's quite exquisite," Zhuo Qiran said carelessly. He put the gun aside and kept his eyes on I Ching. Ning Shu listened to the sweet words, chuckled and turned to leave. Zhuo Qiran was going to suppress the riot and was not in the capital, which was conducive to her plan. And the riot could not be suppressed in a day. Ning Shu really suspected that Zhuo Qiran was the emperor's illegitimate son. There were so many generals in the court, but he insisted on letting a Shitzi take command. It was obvious that he was giving credit to Zhuo Qiran. "Princes, father, we're the biological ones. Those princes probably would not let go of such a good opportunity. After all, it was a riot. It was not impossible for them to die." Ning Shu returned to Marquis Xianping's residence, took off his clothes, and then sat cross-legged on the bed to cultivate. 2 days later, Zhuo Qiran took nearly 1,000 soldiers and horses to Hanyang to suppress the riot. He went to the city gate under the cheerful farewell of the people. Ning Shu stood at the door of the tea house and released a stream of energy towards Zhuo Qiran, who was walking in front. As a result, the energy did not hit Zhuo Qiran. Instead, it startled the horse under Zhuo Qiran and made Zhuo Qiran avoid the energy. Animal senses were the most sensitive. Zhuoche Ran accidentally avoided the energy. This was what made the villain the most helpless. The protagonist was the one who was doted on by the heavens. Although Zhuoche Ran avoided the energy, the horse was startled, causing the troops to be in chaos. They panicked for a while before calming down again. Such a commotion cast a shadow over people's hearts. Such a thing happening before the expedition was a warning from the heavens. The morale was a lot lower, and they were no longer as valiant and high-spirited as before. Ning Shu wiped her face. The person she wanted to deal with was Zhuoche Ran. She could make Zhuoche Ran uncomfortable. After missing the opportunity, Ning Shu also gave up. Zhuoche Ran left the city, and the emperor sent a deputy general to chase after him. Obviously, he was also muttering in his heart. He was afraid that the imperial court soldiers would not be able to suppress the rebels. It was really embarrassing. Ning Shu put down the teacup and planned to go back. When she opened the door, she met Yi Qing in the cubicle. Yi Qing saw Ning Shu and hurriedly bowed, "Miss Su." Ning Shu also returned the greeting, "Miss Yin. Let's go have a cup of tea." Ning Shu smiled and invited. Yi Qing thought for a moment and was about to agree when a female guard beside Yi Qing immediately blocked in front of Yi Qing and looked at Ning Shu warily. "Miss Yin is not feeling well. She is going back to the residence now." Ning Shu did not look at the female guard, but looked at Yi Qing. "Are you not feeling well? I was rude." "Hong Ling, stand to the side," Yi Qing said with some displeasure. Hong Ling immediately said, "Miss, the heir said to let you go to the side. I want to talk to Miss Su." Yi Qing had a smile on her face. "Let's go in and talk." Ning Shu asked the waiter to serve the pastries and tea again. Ning Shu said gently, "The heir will come back with meritorious service. At that time, he will marry you with 10 miles of red dowry." "Miss Su." Yi Qing did not know what to say. "You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.